Recording in progress. Okay, so I don't know if you guys had an opportunity to go over the eloquent and erudite recap that I did of last time's stuff that I posted on tinybatman.com. But if you haven't had a chance to do that, there was a lot went on last time, and we'll do a very quick sort of run through. So last time you guys had come back and you saw essentially the fallout of the Battle of Sequin, in which Vortburton and a levy of mixed forces sneak attacked the Elvish blockaders and essentially pulled off a pretty significant coup. And they were able to kill a lot of the elves, drive off the other ones. There was a lot of dead and dead elves in the water, and certainly casualties were relatively high on both sides. Two huge casualties of that. Xavius Fobane, who was the leader of the Plains Dwarves that had been displaced by the Sargavans, he was serving as sort of de facto military advisor to the Lyceum, and he ended up dead, ostensibly drowned. He also was very well connected with the Bandu Dwarves in the hills to the east. And it was just generally speaking widely respected. They found his body on the shoreline. Ostensibly, he had drowned in the battle. There was no marks of violence or anything. He wasn't wearing any weapons or armor at the time, and his lips and tongue were blue, which may be indicative of lack of oxygen. But even more so, Lorbeck was found dead on the shoreline the day after the battle as well, shot by elvish arrows. And her body taken by Kama and her people back to that. And you guys were actually present at her immolation when her body was burnt in the traditional fashion of her people. And you spent a fair amount of time with her second in command, now first in command, Kama, the half ogre, the hunchback half ogre paladin, who was her advisor and sort of first lieutenant. Very suspicious. Lorbeck's death, you guys thought was very suspicious. Kama agreed with you in that and allowed you to speak with Dead, ask her some questions. She actually visited you later that evening with more answers to give you more information, and that put you on the path of a woman named Talindra Charismas, who was who Lorbeck told you came to her from the elves and told her that the battle that Vortbert had been fomenting was commencing that evening. And she, according to witnesses who were, there weren't very many witnesses. Nobody saw her leave her tent. Nobody saw her go towards the battle. But ostensibly, the general consensus of the townspeople of Sequin is that Lorbeck found out she was a vocal opponent of Vortbert and Vortbert's plan to attack the elves. She has a great deal of friends in the elves. She was personal friends with Lady Shalosha, the elvish leader on the scene, and daughter of Shaladel, Lord Shaladel, the elvish leader. She was personal friends with him, so she'd been very vocal about the idea that this was a bad idea to get rid of the elves. So the general consensus is that she went down there to try and stop Vortbird's attack and just got caught in the crossfire, and the elves couldn't the elvish pickets didn't recognize her, and shot her with arrows, and she eventually drowned in the surf. But she told a very different story. She told that it was humans who shot her with bows and arrows that they had taken from the water, and that these men held her face into the water until she expired, basically drowned her in the surf, which led you to believe that maybe this is a Vortbert operation. Vortbert also was not a fan of Xavius, and frankly sought to either discredit him or supplant him as the de facto military advisor for the Lyceum in the town, and to a certain extent elsewhere. So you guys decided to go spy hunting, and basically you guys went to look for this Talindra, and you had actually when you had spoken with Laura Beck's Shade, she told you that there was an elf, a female elf, living on the west side of town that could get into contact with Shalosha. That she told her that Shalosha was alive. Her body hadn't been found. Nobody was really sure what had happened, but she had survived the battle and had gone back to her father. You did spend some time scouting things out. And you found a couple of people that you thought might be this woman who could get in contact with Shalosha. One of them um, lived in the refugee camps and so probably discounted herself. The other one lived on the west side of town in a small home and worked at a brothel you were able to see. You also found somebody that you felt fit Talindra's description. She owned a small manor and you had observed her riding horses. She had a horse boarded with one of the dwarven horse boarding places. I'm sure they have a name, a paddock, I guess. And you had seen her there. You followed her to her house, scoped it out, broke in, kidnapped her, brought her back to your manor, and began asking her questions. She maintained that her name was that Talindra was not her name. Her name is Lady Safiel. She doesn't know anyone named Talindra. Doesn't know what you're talking about. Is not associated with Vortbert anyway, other than to say that she admires some of the things that he's done for the town. And has a servant girl named Omelia who lives in her house that apparently she's quite fond of. The reality is that you guys tried to get her with the zone of truth. She defeated that, and she has steadfastly maintained under various threats. I don't think you guys have tortured her at all yet, because that's sort of a line you haven't crossed yet. But she basically has been maintaining her innocence, and frankly, is a bit dismissive of your interrogation, and basically says, "Look, you guys have made a mistake. I'm not this Talindra I'm not who you think I am. My name is Lady Safiel. I had nothing to do with any attempt on Laura Beck's life. She's basically refuted everything that you guys have charged her with." And that's kind of where we start tonight. Is you guys still have this Lady Safiel captive, tied up in your manor house. So you're starting to wonder if maybe you haven't kidnapped an innocent person, which that's not great. It's been about 4 or 5 days since you guys have returned and put out the storm, and that's kind of where we start now. So questions before we sort of jump in.
I don't think so.
All right, I guess we just jump right in. So you've got this Lady Safiel. You've got her at your house. She's tied up to a chair. You guys have tried Zone of Truth. That didn't work. And she continues to maintain steadfastly that she is not Talindra. She is Lady Safiel. And she seems to be defeating every effort for you guys to put pressure on her. From the point of view of trying to get her to admit that she is this Talindra who basically your suspicions are that she was sent by Vortbert to get Laura Beck out in the open so that Vortbert's guys could put an end to Laura Beck's, descent. But you have, frankly, let's be realistic, you have no proof. I mean, there's no confession, there's no real evidence other than Laura Beck's testimony herself to you. And Laura Beck did say to you during 20 questions that, did Vortbert order your death? And Laura Beck says to you, yes. That said, Vortbert invited you over to his manor. Now, a couple of things that you notice. A lot of guys there, a lot of work being done on his manor. Now, Vortbert already had one of the larger manors in town. In this case, he's putting up what the military trained amongst you realized was largely defensive upgrades to his manor, including a pretty significant ditch out front, and to stop charges and things like that. But there was a lot of work going on. He invited you in, basically, gave you food and drink, and said, "Look, here's what I want from you. This is why I invited you over. I want you to join me. I'm putting together a militia, a sequin-based militia made up of refugees and fighters from the town, and we're going to take this fight to the Sargavans. What he asked you guys to do, he says, look, you guys have been operating really sort of independently as a sort of commando force against the Sargavans. I know that you guys, he knows that you're from Gate Pass. He knows what happened there, and he felt that you guys might be willing to join with him as an independent detached, either one of two, either as an independent detached commando force fighting behind enemy lines while the Sequin militia sort of fights the Sargavans, in a more traditional fashion, or teaching the Sequin militia how to fight as trainers and commanders in the field. He was like, look, I would prefer the first, but I'll take, with you guys obviously skilled, I'll take whatever I can get. And I know that not Andrew, Titus had a couple of discussions from him and tried to provoke him, but he was resolute and he wouldn't be provoked. He seemed, and frankly, you guys were throwing sense motives around like it was a bodily function, and he seemed quite sincere in that's what he's planning to do. You did not get a vibe that he was a spy for Sargava. In fact, you got the opposite, that Vorpert very much despises the Sargavans. And there was a little clue that he gave out. It's at one point you guys talked about, does he have a family, that kind of thing. And he said, I used to have a wife and child. I used to, and that was the end of that discussion. So you're considering the vituperativeness with which he talks about the Sargavans. You wonder if the Sargavans weren't responsible for him not having a wife and child anymore, which would certainly explain his actions. But he seemed genuine in his desire to have you guys join with him as a sort of an independent commando force under his nominal command to do behind the lines kind of fighting. All right, so you've got Talindra, or well, you think it's Talindra. She claims she's Lady Safiel. In your house, you have not gotten any usable information out of. Certainly, you haven't got any sort of confession out of her saying, yes, Vorpert hired me to bring Laura back out out of hiding, out of the safety of her camp, so that he could enact an assassination, essentially. You have it on her authority that's what happened. On Laura Beck's authority, and frankly, that's largely impeachable considering she was there. But beyond that, you don't have any evidence that you could take to the Lyceum, to the locals, anything like that. And frankly, if anything, after the battle, Vortbert's popularity has grown pretty significantly in town. He's in large part, he's seen as sort of the savior of Sequin. And there are a lot of refugees and townsfolk who are sort of flocking to his banner and volunteering to join this militia that he's putting together. So what do you guys do?
We're going to follow Mike's plan.
What was Mike's plan? Just flat out murder, torture and murder?
Oh, no, he said he needed a month to think about it, was like the last thing that we said at the video. And now he's not here to talk about it.
Yeah, he's not here.
Well, I'm thinking maybe we just feign going along with Wartburg for now. And we take Princess Leia. And say you're coming with
You mean Lady Safiel?
Whatever.
It took me 5 to 10 seconds to come up with that name. So we need to use it.
I still think we should try to go back to the house and do a more thorough search. We did.
Of her manor?
Yeah, we did find out that she was working with Vortberg. Just the papers didn't show that she was doing what we think she was doing, but they did show that she was consulting with them.
Correct. Yeah, they did show that.
Yeah. Did we ask her where he is? If she's willing to tell us where he is, if she's no friend of his, wouldn't she give him up?
Who's that?
This gal I'm talking to, asking questions of. Did we ask her if she's aware of where he's at?
Who, Vortberg?
Yes.
We know where Vortberg is. He's at his mansion.
I didn't know we knew where he was exactly.
Yeah, you guys visited with him at his home.
Oh, that's
invited.
Yeah, I did put that together.
See.
But anyway, I think we should go back and talk to that the servant, Amelia.
Amelia, yeah. She's just a young girl, maybe 13 or 14 years old.
Yeah, maybe her loyalties aren't necessarily with Lady Safiel or Talindra, or she might know if she is Talindra.
Okay.
She might break a little easier too, and she might fall for the zone of truth spell also.
Okay, that's doable. Now there were some guards posted outside that you guys slipped past and were able to kidnap Lady Saphiel. You've had her for several hours, although it's still kind of the middle of the night. It's possible that you could sneak back in there. You know, under the, you know, if you're going to kidnap one person, you might be able to kidnap two.
Damn right.
Is that what you want to try and do?
Well, I think at least one of us needs to go and search the house a little better and try to get Amelia to talk to us anyway. I don't know that we need to kidnap her.
Well, a couple of us can stay outside and a couple can go inside. So it's not so overwhelming.
Yeah.
All right. Well,
The other question is, at this point, who do we know, or do we know anyone who would recognize Talindra on sight?
Question.
That is a
Yep.
good question. Now, Laura Beck would tell you that she would often see Talindra in the company. Well, she hadn't seen her very many times before, but she previously had seen her in the company of Shalosha, the elvish commander, and Lady Saphiel is an elf. You know, so it's possible. Well, certainly, at least the way Laura Beck tells it, Shalosha would be able to recognize her, would know Talindra, because
Right.
that's how Laura Beck met her.
But
Other than that,
she's not in the area.
no, she's gone. She's gone back to her father's,
Right.
you know, home. She's back home with her father, according to
we've
Laura
got
Beck.
we've got that other elf though, who probably would know her as well. The one that we haven't interviewed yet.
Yeah.
The one that lived in the little house. Yeah, that's true.
So, I mean, I think it sounds like a good idea to go back and get more information from her manor to see if we can find something that could definitively sort of show her to be Talindra, if that's who she is, and also information about what she's been up to that might include, you know, some nefarious stuff in cooperation with Vortberg. But it would also work to find somebody who just recognizes her on sight, so we can show them to her and say, "Who's that?" And if they say, "Oh, that's Talindra," then it no longer matters, because at 1 or 2 points in the whole thing last time we played, she blew her roll to lie. Now, then the next roll she made properly and right. So there have been sort of breaks in the armor of the misguidance or the outright lies and stuff that have given us reason to believe most of what she's saying is probably lies.
Cracks in the facade, if you will.
Yeah, exactly. So she blew a couple of rolls and then followed them up with good rolls later on. And we had some crap rolls with sense motive and, you know, that kind of stuff. So it's all been sort of, it seems like she's lying, but we aren't able to prove it with any sort of certainty to be able to move forward that way. So I think the thing that we should probably do is try to figure out a way to determine if she's lying 100% or not. And the only thing I can really think of is going back to the house and getting information from her manor and see if any of that incriminates her, or finding somebody who knows what she looks like or is familiar with her and can definitively say, yeah, that's Talindra.
Well, the servant might also know if she's gone by the name Talindra as well.
Right.
Whether she'll tell us or not, that's
Well, like you said, she may be more susceptible to a zone of truth and not be as good under heavy questioning as this person who's obviously been trained to do that by cheating and judging on the pluses she has on bluff rolls. We obviously know she's been trained as a spy.
right. Les, I got 2 questions for you.
Sure.
Can Lorelei use a wand if Poe can use a wand? Does that translate over to a animal?
Yeah, I don't see why she's a sprite, right?
Yeah.
I don't see why a sprite wouldn't be precluded from using a wand as long as she knew the command word and how to use it, which you would probably provide to her. Yeah, I don't see why she couldn't use it.
Chuck, you can also use wands, is that right? Chuck,
Do we
you
lose?
there?
Do we lose Chuck?
Okay, well, the other question, Les, is if we do the wand of truth around the servant,
Mm-hmm.
if Safiel / Talindra is also there, would she have to save again with that particular spell? Do you have to save? Like if you cast it again, do you have to save again, or is it a?
I
once you
believe
cast it-
yes, because it's a relatively short period of time. So it only lasts about 1 minute per level, and it's a 20-foot radius. So I mean, eh,
So
yeah,
say
I mean, you're
once
allowed to save. Affected creatures are aware of the enchantment. They may avoid answers. But yeah, she would. The zone of truth that you've already casted on her, for which she had saved, is has elapsed. So yeah, if you were to cast another zone of truth on her, she
there's
would
a
have to do
chance
another
she
save.
might be.
Yeah.
Okay, so we probably.
I mean, you could do it now if you want to, just right at her and just like try and hit her again, just to see if
Well,
she
I don't.
blow her
I
save.
want to. I definitely want to do it with Amelia because she's probably got a much lower save. So even if the elf isn't affected by it, at least the servant would be.
Right.
So, Chuck, are you back yet?
Yes, sir.
So I was thinking initially, I was thinking that you and Lorelei could go and Wraith can do wands too, right? He's got the ability to.
So conundrum.
Use magic device.
No. Well, Wraith has let me pull up his sheet. No, he has no skill in use magic device,
No,
and he has no levels in anything magically inclined.
And it's a trained skill only. So yeah, you gotta have some ranks in it.
Right.
All right. So I think probably, Chuck, what we need to do is have Wraith and maybe Lorelei's backup go in and try to get Amelia out of there somehow.
Okay.
And you can search while you're there. And then if we can get Amelia back with Lady Safiel / Talindra, we can do another zone of truth. And best case, both of them are hit by it, and we can get some more truth from both of them. Worst case,
Yeah.
the servant might fail, and we can at least find out if she knows if this Lady Safiel also goes by Talindra, and she might know more too.
Mhm,
Right.
mhm.
All right. So I'm going on a sneaky mission with your flying friend.
Yep, right. If you
Okay.
think you can, if you think you can get in there and get her out somehow. You said she's youngish, right? Less like
Yeah,
14?
like 13 or 14 years old.
Okay.
Somebody did not go to bed at the appropriate hour, I could see. Huge
Well-
shock there, Eric.
The only thing about that whole thing is I can sneak and do all the B&E stuff, but I'm absolutely rubbish when it comes to dealing with people.
Well, unless you're murdering them.
Well, I can deal with them that way, but I don't
Yeah.
think he wants this 13-year-old girl executed.
No.
Instructions were unclear.
Instructions unclear. Girl's dead. No,
You
but
can still do that speak with dead thing, right?
if it if it
That will
came
get us
to,
some answers.
if it came to trying to bluff her or use diplomacy, I have neither of those. I don't have any kind of charisma bonus, so I'm not convincing. Technically, I don't even have intimidate.
How many guards were there, Les? Just
There were
couple?
three guards out in the thing, two humans and a dwarf, if I recall correctly, and the dwarf was wearing a little badge, like a little sigil thing, like a little pin that was sort of what you guys have learned over the last couple of days is sort of the symbol of like Vortbert's militia guys, that kind of thing. So the dwarf was wearing a symbol. The other two guys you didn't get close enough to see. But they were all they didn't give you the impression that they were staunch military guys. I mean, it was sort of like thrown together equipment. There was no uniform or anything like that. They were definitely guarding the manor house, Lady Safiel's manor house.
So maybe we just need to try to get in there and take her back to her house, because whatever happens, we're probably gonna want to leave her there anyway, either dead or alive. We're either gonna establish that she isn't lying and we need to take her back, or she is lying and we need to do something with her. But I mean, we might be able to just, doesn't Jennifer, doesn't Vondram have like sleep spells and stuff like that, things that can incapacitate a couple people?
Not sleep. Let me
Or-
double check.
I don't think I've got anything like that.
You're thinking of
And we don't have a cleric type that can cast commune, right? Is that too high a level thing?
Yeah, that's I don't have it written down anyway. What level is that? I think that's
And I should be, but I don't have all of the low level spells written down. Because the other option I just thought of is if we can ask,
commune is 5th level, so yeah, we
I
yeah,
have no
if
sleep spells.
we can ask a suit for supernatural assistance positively identifying this person, then we no longer have to deal with the trained liar.
yeah, I've got the speak with dead thing again, but
So I can
Make
kill
that
her.
work.
I can kill her, and then you can talk to her.
Well, Speak with Dead also is rejectable, right? So some creatures, I think they get a saving throw if they don't want to come back, or if they don't want to answer questions. Because I think you can refuse to come back. Right. Okay. If the dead creature's alignment was different from yours, the corpse gets a will save to resist the spell as if it were alive. If successful, the corpse can refuse to answer your questions or attempt to deceive you using bluff. The soul can only speak about what it knew in life. So I guess you could force it to come back, but you can't necessarily force it to be truthful to you.
Right. And I think we were kind of joking with that anyway, but
Oh, with the servant girl?
no, with the
we'll
one we
kill
think
her.
is Talindra.
Oh, with Lady Safiel? Yeah. I mean,
You can keep calling her what you want. In your email, you called her Talindra.
I don't
Which
recall any of that.
Was very Freudian. And also,
Potentially, she did.
and also what we already knew, but you just rolled too well for us to figure out.
She's Schrodinger's Talindra. You guys,
She
you
both
guys have,
is and isn't.
you guys haven't been able to open the box yet.
Well, in that case, she's both dead and alive, so it won't matter if we kill her some more.
We can make her more deader.
That's logic, right?
It's the sort of logic that works well with a Schrodinger's Talindra situation.
So yeah, I was just looking like any of the cleric spells that get information from otherworldly sources, and
The gods.
I don't really know if. Well, I think there's some lower level ones that are like you ask a deceased member that shares your deity or whatever. I don't remember.
The only
Also-
one I've got written down anyway is speak with dead, and that's
Yeah,
a 3rd level spell.
I
Commune is
think
a 5th
there there are certain low level divination spells.
yeah, that's what I'm talking about.
And these are third party. Hold on a second.
Yeah, that's my problem. I don't remember which ones.
I don't either.
third
There used to
party.
be there used to be on the thing, there used to be a like sort of a like a database of spells. Oh, here we go. Spells database. Well, they heard it. They hit it well.
Yeah, they made it complicated.
Mm-hmm. All right, so let's sort by sub-school divination. Okay. Is that really working there? Okay. I'll have this for you momentarily.
So anyway, back to the sortie mission. I understand the value of taking your familiar. What's her name again? Doggone it.
Lorelei.
Lorelei. But I think I would probably be also better off taking Andrew's character because he's very charismatic. So
Well,
if it comes to trying to
We need to decide
convincing-
if we want to all try to go or if we want to try to bring her back. That's the question.
See, I would think keeping them separated.
Would be good.
Yeah, because then if she's a 13-year-old servant girl, this Talindra person, if it is Talindra and she is a professional spy, would be able to exert pressure on her without saying a word.
Good point.
In her presence, the 13-year-old might not be willing to talk. If you get her outside of that presence and you have someone who's just really studly and charismatic, like Andrew's character, maybe she'll open up to him completely in a non-sexual way.
Right. I'm not a pedophile.
Right, exactly.
Well, and Andrew,
Titus.
you can take the zone of truth wand too. You can use the wand. So yeah,
Yeah.
I mean,
And he can use the wand.
Well,
the only thing is how
do I
stealthy. are
charmer, or if I fail, does the wand still work, or do I have to use a charge?
Oh no, I mean, you're a sorcerer. You are familiar with the ways of magic. So you would be able to use the wand. It would not be a use magic device thing. He just at this point, Poe just tells you, here's how this wand works, and you're perfectly capable of using a wand. So that's not an issue.
Right.
Oh,
Are you in any way stealthy?
Stomps
a
around
little
like a
bit,
Clydesdale.
yeah.
Hey, Luke.
Howdy.
I have a +4 to stealth.
Okay, so we'll probably end up having to use Clydesdale stealth, which is knock everyone unconscious and they can no longer hear the Clydesdale.
All right. Well, there was 3 guys outside,
We'll
and
just
there was like 2 of them were sleeping when
Yeah.
you guys broke in the first time, and it's only been a couple of hours. So I mean, it's not like
Right.
it's not dawn yet. Is I guess what I'm saying.
Okay. So yeah, I think at least 1 or 2 people need to stay here and watch possibly Talindra
Yeah. So you and Andrew can go and do the.
and try to do the mission to talk to the servant girl.
Then we'll just sit and hang back and.
But I don't think it's a good idea to kidnap her. Because if she's an innocent player in all this and young, that's just going to be traumatizing. And you probably won't get any better information from her if you put her in the same room with this person who has authority over her. So I think it's best we don't do that.
What are you playing, Arendar and Wraith now?
Yeah, I was just gonna ask the same thing.
I definitely think kidnapping is the best option.
Well, Wraith always thinks killing is the best option, but you guys have always said no, which is why we're still freaking around with Vordbert because you didn't let me kill him the first time.
I would have let you kill him the first time.
All right.
Fortbert is innocent.
Of nothing.
If we would have killed him before, Les would have just come up with somebody even nastier.
I don't know. I mean, Vortbert, he's not the most likable guy, but
Yeah.
it seems like his heart's in the right place, right? He wants to take the fight to Sargava. He's come to you and said, "Hey, I want your help. You guys are pros."
He's killing all of his competitive leaders in the area. That's not
Right.
coming from a good place, man.
Well, I
That's how
mean,
you look at it.
You're
No,
right
said
though.
he's got tons and tons of money to be like upgrading his fortress. So, sounds like money might be filtering in from the wrong places to me.
You're right though, Gordon. Les hates when we pre-kill his bad guys. Because we're not supposed to know they're bad guys yet.
he's kind of a good guy. I mean, I don't know. I got a soft spot for. I mean, look at his face. Does this guy look?
The first time you introduced him as an NPC, we knew he was a bad guy. And I told
He
you
doesn't even have red hair.
I told you
How could you know?
Was going to kill him then.
I will let everyone know.
Melissa, I'll let you in on a secret. White hair at older age usually is a sign that that person had red hair at an early age. So more than likely, he did have red hair years and years and years ago.
Former redhead.
I don't
Former
I don't
redhead
know
was
that that's genetically accurate, but I don't know enough about
Oh, yeah,
science
it
to
is.
contradict him.
All my red hair is white.
True that.
Definitely.
My red beard is white now too. So
You
all right.
like-
Well, I mean, just flat out assassinating Vortbert might not be the best possible course of action. He's quite popular in town right now, and if you guys get caught doing this,
But before he
one,
wasn't popular yet. I could have just killed him and he'd been another dead dwarf.
Not wrong.
I'm not
it
wrong.
wasn't as popular. Well, he was still on the
We
council
don't want
though,
them
the
to get
sequin
a
council.
correct idea of what the path is.
So we do.
So-
Yeah, he was.
Let's go break back into Talindra's place.
I don't know. I think you should join him. Join the Sequin militia. Go out and fight commando raids in the plains against the Sargavans. Win glory for yourselves and become generals. Just a thought.
We'll take that under advisement.
All right, so you guys are Wraith and Titus. I just want to make sure I have it straight in my head. Wraith and Titus are going to go back to the manor house in the wee hours of the morning, sneak past the guards, get back in, wake up the servant girl, throw a zone of truth on her, and ask her a bunch of questions, only more nicely than you have been asking Lady Safiel.
Correct.
Okay, got it.
Read that as Titus is going to do all the talking.
Okay, perfect. He does have the skills for it.
He's purdy. He's purdy, man.
He is.
Sure
All right.
am.
He's a handsome fella, no question. All right, so I need stealth rolls from you guys. So you guys go out and head towards that manor. It's not very far away from where you guys live, so it doesn't take you just a few minutes, maybe 15 minutes of walking to get there. Wraith moves like a kitten through the underbrush. None hear him, but I also need Titus, you to make a stealth roll as well.
Yes, sir.
Can I aid him?
Sure.
I don't think I've ever asked this question before. I don't know if you can aid in this, but can I try to help him be more stealthy than?
Absolutely. You can aid in stealth. You can aid in stealth.
You
Sure.
can just go piggyback.
So I'll do that. So I was successful to aid, so he gets a plus something.
He gets +2.
+2.
Wow. Okay.
In
So
addition
now-
to, would you say your stealth bonus was +4?
Yep.
Now you're
Okay.
+6.
Excellent.
Managed to miss a banana peel that
Here it comes. Banana Peel Central.
14.
14. All right. So that's not great, but it is like 3:30 in the morning. And when you guys left, 2 of the guys were already asleep. Wraith, as you approach and look to see where those guys are, they have moved around a bit. But again, now it's like 2 other guys are asleep. Like one of the guys who was asleep before is now asleep. The dwarf with the badge who was up before is now sleeping. And the other guy is sort of like wandering around in slow laps around the manor, sort of in a desultory fashion. He's making a fair amount of noise. He's dragging he's got a spear. He's sort of dragging the butt end of the spear behind him. You don't get the impression that this guy is what you would consider to be a massively competent guard, let alone somebody who drags their spear around in that fashion is
Right.
probably not a warrior of note.
So by move around, you mean they rolled over. The one guy that was on his back is now on his stomach.
Yeah.
All right, good.
Yeah, and the one guy who was asleep is now awake and sort of wandering around the house
Yeah.
outside, and the other one is now sleeping in that same sort of copse behind the house.
And we'd already gotten through like a window in the library. Is that right?
That's correct. Yeah.
So we'll wait for the slow moving guard type to pass that area and move towards whichever is like if that's on the side when they have moved to the front of the house and
Mhm.
won't be able to see us anymore.
Gotcha.
We'll just sneak over there and go through that window again.
Okay. All right, cool. So yeah, eventually he kind of like you could hear him humming to himself. As he comes quite close. And you do see as he comes by you, he sort of like looks around and that kind of stuff, and almost like looks over to where you and Titus are, but is just like shakes his head in sort of ugga wugga fashion and then continues to kind of go around the house. It's not too long. He goes around the corner and you guys have, generally speaking, free access to that window.
So we'll go and try to sneak into that window.
The house is very much, you get in no problem. You're used to being able to get in and out of there. The house is quiet and dark and does not seem to have been disturbed in any way since you were only here about 4 hours ago or 3
Uh-huh.
hours ago. So it hasn't changed. It is a. If you'll recall, when you first searched the house, you did find the servants' quarters and did notice that there was that you suspected that was where the young girl stays, but you did not see her the first time you entered the house. You'd
Right.
only saw her previously.
Well, I don't think there are any guards in the house.
There weren't when you guys were here before.
So this is up to you and what you're confident in doing, Titus. If you want to go and use the wand to create a zone of truth in the room, like when you first enter while she's sleeping, then gently wake her up and ask her some questions. And if you think you don't need me there, I'll go through this room and see if I can find any information or documentation that helps us separately. But if you think if you're more comfortable with us sticking together, then I'll go with you so that if anything goes bad, if there happens to be a guard in the house, something, I can help deal with it. And then you can talk to the girl. And then I'll try to do some recon on documentation or information afterwards.
So I'd say pause a moment just to make sure, because I don't have much way of defending or offending. But if you can see that I've got her cast under the wand of truth spell and she's awake and nobody's done anything, then by all means creep away.
Okay, so I'm gonna go with him.
Okay.
And we're gonna try to find the bedroom where she is.
Cool.
And is the door locked?
No, it's open. In fact, there's no lock on the door itself. You do give me a quick perception check.
24.
24. Yeah, you can hear what sounds like gentle snoring from within. It could easily be the snoring of a young girl.
Okay. Then I'll try to open the door quietly.
Oh, door opens quietly. It's not it's pretty easy. It just pushes open. Like I said, there's no lock on the door at all. There's not even really a knob. It just pushes back and forth. And yeah, in the darkness, you can see it's quite it's not a huge room, but bigger probably than some of the servants' quarters that you've seen in the past. Your guess is that it may not have always been servants' quarters. But maybe another room or a workroom or something that was turned into servants' quarters, sort of aftermarket.
Do we
You
have
can
a
see
map?
I'm sorry. We
We
do
have a
not
map
have a
of-
map of this minor.
Okay, fine.
Sorry, we're going theater of the mind tonight. So you do see there is clothing on thing. There's a small table there and a small bed, which looks to have a person in it.
What's that really dark spot in that? Oh, never mind. It's theater of the mind. That's the stroke. Okay. That's the dead spot. We'll ignore that for now. No, so let him, because my understanding from when Poe did it,
Mhm.
the zone of truth is an area of effect. So he could use the wand to cast the area of effect.
Right. It's a 20-foot radius centering on the caster.
Right. So he can do that and then walk in and try to wake her up gently to try not to spook her.
Okay. Is that what you guys want to do?
Sure.
Yeah, put the pretty face up front.
Okay. All right. So Titus, you cast the zone of truth and it enacts around you, and you can feel the compelling magical power manifesting in the room. She awakes as after you cast the spell. She comes awake and throws her saving throw and fails. So she is now compelled to tell the truth if you ask her questions. Well, she can't lie. She's not compelled, but she can't lie.
Right.
So you got her. But she pulls her covers up against her, and she's like, "Who are you? Who are you?"
I would casting diplomacy help anything to make her feel more comfortable.
Sure.
Okay.
Wow, natural 20 on diplomacy. What do you say to this girl?
Pretty
It's
boy
okay.
energy.
I'm your friend. I'm here to help you, and
I've
I
dreamed
want to
about
check
you.
in on you. How are you?
I've dreamed about you.
Yeah, most do.
Take off
And
your
here I
trousers.
am.
No. All right. So she is shocked, but she doesn't. Once you speak to her, she doesn't not seem afraid anymore, and she's like, who are you, and what are you doing here? Are you friends of my mistress?"
Well, yes. In fact, we want to do something special for her birthday. Um, her birthday's coming up, right?
I didn't know that. No, I'm glad you told me.
So I was hoping that we could put her proper name on the cake. Do you know her name and how to spell it?
I do. It starts with an S, and then it's A, and not an F. I think it's a PH after that, and then an I, and an E, and an L. I think that's how it is. Saphiel.
You are a good speller.
Thank you. I've been my mistress has been letting me use some of her books, and she's been helping me to read some of them and learn how to do that. I didn't when I came here. I didn't know how to read it. I worked on a farm and with my family, but I didn't know how to read. But Lady Saphiel is teaching me. My mistress is teaching me how to.
Well, I believe Lady Saphiel has another name that she was given at birth. Do you know what that is?
I don't know. Lady Saphiel is what she asked me to call her.
Yes,
But
but
sometimes people who come visiting call her by a different name.
what is that different name?
I guess that's her first name. It's Talira, something like that.
Lyra. Oh,
It's I
yes,
don't.
yes.
I'm usually not in the room when or I've got many duties for my mistress, so I usually don't pay too much attention. But I think it's Talira.
Yes. She's very formal, especially with her servants. Um, what does Lady Saphiel like to do all day long? Does she have friends that visit or that she likes to go and see?
Not really. Very rare does anybody come here to visit her, and she doesn't like the guards that she has, so she keeps them. She makes them stay outside. She doesn't like them at all. I don't know why she has them. Even nobody, no, not many people come here. She does go meet a lot of different people though, and she often takes many of her books and papers with her to those meetings. But I don't know what those are about.
What does she ever mention Sir Fartborg?
Lord Vortbird? Oh, yes, of course. They are great friends. She talks about him all the time to some of the people that she talks about. And she often goes to meet him either at his home or some other places that they go. She doesn't always tell me. But yes, they're great friends.
Well, that's so nice. So I imagine that they read stories to each other. Do you know the books and papers that they take? Because maybe
I
we
don't
could,
know anything about that. I don't read very well. And
but you do read.
yes, but I'm not allowed to read any of my lady's papers. What she gives me some of her books to read, and they're books of stories and mythologies from where she comes from the Elvish people, and they're good books. And sometimes that she's teaching me to read, and sometimes she'll read me one of those stories. But her workbooks, I'm not allowed to touch.
Well, so I will cast a communicate
Okay.
spell.
Okay.
He seems safe. So while he's doing this, I'm going to slink off back to the office and start going through books and papers.
Okay. So so what spell are you gonna what
I
what are you casting?
am casting. Where to go? Message.
Message, okay. The
And,
range on that is fairly short, so you won't be able to message all the way back to your house, back to the
but if I can message Wraith, at least.
oh yeah, you could absolutely message Wraith.
So I just
It's only about what's your level? What level are you?
6.
6? Yeah, it's only about 160 feet. But yeah, definitely within the confines of the manor house, you could definitely
So
Right.
I let Wraith know what I've I've asked and what I've heard. and ask Wraith if he has any suggestions.
Well, it sounds to me like she's confirmed that her name is Valindra, although not precisely.
Yeah.
And you've pretty much charmed her with your personality. And there's no need to. You're not going to get much else out of her. She's a servant girl and she knows what she knows, which is enough. So I would think if you can get away with it, try to convince her that, she's been helpful and that you're going to step away and she's welcome to go back to bed.
Okay.
She also confirmed the guards aren't allowed in the house. So you
Okay.
should be safe.
Okay. So, all right.
Unless you're
young
afraid of the
lady, you've been
13-year-old.
What's that?
very helpful, and I
And
thank
unless he's
you.
afraid of the 13-year-old.
Yeah, unless you're afraid the 13-year-old's going to draw a dagger and take you out.
I've charmed her. No, I'm not worried.
Well, no, you just made a diplomacy check. There's no binding magical charm here. And she has to tell the truth.
Yep.
Okay.
Those are the only two givens. She's treating you like a friend and she has to tell the truth.
Okay. So are you hiding any weapons, young lady?
Weapons? Yeah, servant girls, 13-year-old servant girls are usually festooned with morning stars and halberds and shit like that.
No, just this
That's what I
pole
thought.
arm right here.
No, she doesn't have any weapons. I mean, she'll tell you that you get the impression that she was a refugee before she came into service with Lady Sapphio. And she's been in her service for about 6 months, maybe, which seems a weird time frame considering that from your point of view, from Lorbeck's point of view, Talindra was associated with Lady Shalasha with the elves. So you're not sure how that time frame works out, but it seems a little bit odd. But that seems like but it's largely, it sounds like to you that she has been largely treated well.
Okay. Well, you've been very helpful, and before you go back to sleep, is there anything else you can tell me to make Lady Satriel's party even more special? Where she came from, people we might invite, things that she really likes or hates?
Oh, she hates ale and beer. So don't buy any of that. She only drinks wine, and she only buys her wine from this special vendor in the city. So, and in the town, who knows how to get a hold of the elvish vintages she likes, because Lady Saphiel is an elf, and so she only likes the elvish wine. So don't get her any beer and ale. Beyond that, she does like fish from the river. And the clams from the river. She likes to eat those. But other than that, I don't know. She has a lot of money to afford guards and stuff like that. So I don't know that she needs any presents. I'm poor. She pays me well, but it's not enough for me to get her presents. I didn't even know her birthday was coming.
Well, that's a shame. Well, when you have that much money, you should keep it protected. Do you know where it is? I want to put some guards on it that she'll like, and we'll let stay there.
Oh, I don't know anything about that. There are certain places in the manor that I'm not allowed to go. I imagine if she has a lot of money, she would probably keep it there.
Where?
In her room and in her office. I can go in her office sometimes when she tells me to come in to bring her things, or sometimes we'll do my lessons in there, but I'm never allowed. She said that she would send me back to the refugee camp if she ever caught me in her room, and I never go in there.
Oh, that's terrible. Do you want to go back to the refugee camp? Are you happy where you are?
I do not. This refugee camp sucked balls. I'm not going back there ever.
Hey, language.
No, she definitely does not want to go back to the refugee camp.
Okay.
No, you get the impression she likes working for Lady Saphiel, who's been nice to her, pays her reasonably well. It's probably a pittance, but compared to but how how much genuinely could a 13-year-old servant girl command in the workforce, right? So it's probably a really good deal for a young girl who may or may not have any family with her in the still living in the refugee camps. She mentioned that she used to work on the farm with her family out in the plains, and that the plains have been sort of disrupted by Sargavan armies, but beyond that, you don't know. All right, so let's stop there for a second. The rest of you back at your manor house over by the boat basin. You guys still have Lady Saphiel tied up. Are you going to do anything with her? You're just going to sort of let her sit there, maybe grab some sleep, that kind of thing.
Yeah,
Bondrup's not the one for intense interrogation.
Okay.
I'm not planning on doing anything either.
Okay, so you're just going to sort of like lock her in a room and leave her there?
No, I'll stay with her.
Yeah,
wherever
somebody
she's
should be
at.
with her.
Okay.
If she's a
All right.
trained spy, I'm sure she's trained on how to escape bonds. And
Well, she does. If you stay there for a while, I mean, after a while, she's like, "Look, I understand. This is just obviously some sort of mistaken identity. I'm not the person you're looking for. Frankly, we could just chalk it up to a mistake, and we don't have to involve the constables or anything like that. If you just let me go, we'll just call it bygones. Let me go back to my house, and everything's forgotten and forgiven. What do you say?"
Yeah, no.
Oh.
I'll pretend I'm snoring.
Okay. All right. Back at Talindra's Manor. Wraith, you're going hunting around in the house? Are you on mute?
Check her office and bedroom.
Did we lose him? Did we lose Wraith? I can't tell if he's there or not. He's on the thing.
Yeah, he's still here. He's probably just stepped away for a minute.
He might have, yeah.
Stuff.
All right, were there so while we're waiting for him, Andrew, does Titus have other questions for Amelia?
No, I think it seems like I got what I wanted. I sent her back to Slumberland.
Okay. You should say, okay, well, thank you for telling me all this. You've been very helpful. I think it's going to be the best birthday she's ever had, kind of thing.
That's exactly what I said. And thanks for your help. It'll be even better.
Okay. Well, she's like glad I could, she's very pleased that she could help. She's looking forward to it. That kind of thing. And she says, Mr. Titus, you must let me know when it's going to happen so that I'll wear my best clothing, and I'll be happy to help out with anything you need.
It's going to be a surprise, so don't say anything.
I won't say anything. I promise.
Then you've done so much already to help. I will save you an extra large piece of cake.
I like cake. All right. So she sees you out, or I'm assuming you walk out of the room, and then her door closes, and she's going to go back to sleep.
Yep.
Wraith, you back? Okay. All right. So Titus, are you going to go find Wraith in the house, or are you just going to stay largely where you are? And
if I could communicate with him, I'd find that out. I'm likely to go near the entrance just in case, which hopefully is halfway between where I was and close to leaving. But if Wraith, I feel like I have to get this message back to the group, but I can't just leave Wraith.
Okay.
I'm back.
Okay. What are you doing? Are you like going through the house, that kind of thing?
Yeah, I'm going to the office, and I'm trying to go through the books and papers, whatever I can find. I'll be looking for any sort of hidden, wall safe, that kind of stuff.
Gotcha. All right.
Just see if I can find anything incriminating.
Yeah, give me a perception check. All right, so you go through the office, and again, you saw earlier, because you kind of looked through these papers before in her office and found, sort of looked through, and there were some documents that, that she was consulting, and did, certain correspondence. It's relatively innocent sounding, certain, a lot of vague discussions for the purposes of this or that, kind of thing. Nothing that you would see as incriminating. There were several, you do see several parchments in Elvish, sort of scattered about, and she has a large desk and a bookcase and stuff like that. And you can see on the bookcase, there are a variety of books, some in Elvish, some in common tongues, human tongues,
Yeah.
that kind of stuff. Nothing that obviously strikes your eye as being overtly, sort of incriminating.
Well, yeah, but the last time I looked through, it was all kind of surface scan.
Mhm.
This time I'm going to look through to see if it's sort of like veiled code, or if I can find anything that looks like it might be more than what it seems on the surface. Because now we know she's a professional spy.
Right.
We're not professional spies, but I have some
Right.
I have some connections to and dealings with the underworld. So I
Right.
sort of know how
Okay.
that world uses common language to mean something that it doesn't mean in common language. So you can make a fairly innocent letter into something that means something, or like
Right.
the mafia style of how's your family? I hope they're doing well. That's a veiled threat. They're going to kill them if you don't do what they want.
Right.
That kind of stuff.
So you do find when you take a closer look at these documents, it does sort of trigger your organized crime bone, in that a lot of the discussions are very vague for for services rendered, please find the payment we agreed upon. You do find a couple of documents signed by Vortbert, but they're very much in that sort of thing, consultative services, thanks for just forward the information that you got, that kind of stuff by the usual channels, payment will be standard, that kind of thing. There's a
Right.
couple of, but it's not just Vortbert. There's a lot of documents from a variety of people. Some names you recognize, some you don't. You don't see anything that's obviously incriminating. It looks like this woman has done some, there's a couple of things you were able to draw from some of these documents. One, it looks like that this woman at least partially does a fair amount of business as what you would consider to be like a courier. Bring this to there, take this to somebody, that kind of stuff. Here's the payment, that kind of thing. So she does what at least looks like to you a lot of courier work. There's also a lot of, there's certain documents as, can you meet us at this time to discuss the subjects we previously mentioned? We have some additional questions, that kind of thing. There's a small book that has a small notebook that looks like maybe like a calendar or a diary of sorts. Not a diary, but like
Right.
where it's like meetings are listed and that kind of thing. And there's a couple of meetings coming up in the next few days. One of them is with Vortbird. She's supposed to meet him in a couple of days at his residence.
So I'm going to collect up all this stuff.
Okay.
And basically combine it all and just take it.
Okay.
Because I think it's possible, if I got somebody who was more heavily into the underworld than I ever was,
right,
they might be able to make some meaning of it.
Gotcha.
Now,
okay.
Did Titus message me about the places that the servant girl wasn't allowed to go?
Yes.
I assume so. Yeah.
Yeah. So then the next thing I want to do, if I feel like I've exhausted everything I could find in the office, is to go find her bedroom.
Well, I also ask if you need backup, or should I relay them the message about what's her face to the rest of the group?
Well, if you have the ability to,
I'd
from
have
here,
to physically go. We're out of range.
I would think we should probably wait to physically go together. You can come
Okay.
up. You can come up into the bedroom with me. Is the girl secure?
She's
Did she go-
sleeping.
She go back to sleep? That perfect.
All right, I go up with Wraith and
And we'll go
to
through the bedroom. see what
bedroom
we can find.
platonically.
Okay. Going upstairs. Would you like to come upstairs?
He
Yes,
he is a pretty man.
I ask
That's
if she's
true.
wearing something comfortable.
Alluring is the word I hear. Whenever I think of Titus. Um. So yeah, I mean, so yeah, you guys check the office. I mean, yeah, there's the papers and books. It seems pretty standard and a fairly well used office, I guess. So you go up to the bedroom.
Right.
Okay. The door is locked.
Check for traps.
Sure.
26.
26. Yeah, no traps on the door, but it is locked. Definitely locked.
24 disable device.
That'll be enough to do it. Yeah, you managed to pick that lock. It's a surprise. So to your eyes, it's a surprisingly strong lock for the bedroom door of somebody who lives there.
Right.
But yeah, you manage to pick it and you get in there. You get inside. It's a large bedroom with a good window that looks out over to the city. Good, nice view. There is a large four-poster bed, quite sumptuously attired. There's a couple of chests and tables where clothes are sort of strewn around. She's not very tidy. Possibly because her servant girl's not allowed to come in here ever.
Yeah.
But you do see there's a makeup table and things of that nature, small rack of more clothes, shoes, things like that. It's fairly girly setup.
I'd like to cast detect magic.
Detect magic. Okay, what's the hold on, let's see the range on that.
60-foot cone visually.
Okay.
And since I'm standing at the door, it covers most of the room.
Yeah.
All
you
right.
can Look left and right. You get all that.
All right, so you do see a couple of things that are magic. You see a couple of items. You can't tell in the dark, in the distance, what they are, but there's a couple of items that may radiate small
Wait, I have
magic.
dark vision. So
Oh, okay. Well, so there's a couple of items on one of the vanity tables. It looks like maybe a hairbrush and a small mirror that are radiating magic. And underneath the bed, you detect some magic as well. But it's hidden under the bed. You can't see what it is.
Okay, so I point these out to Wraith in case he wasn't noticing.
Okay. So I'm going to go and look under the bed. So
Okay.
check for traps. And then, I mean, I guess it's perception roll first.
Yep.
30.
30. All right. So you
31
look
for
under the
traps.
bed. You have to sort of like push away the flounces and stuff like that. You don't see anything under the bed. I mean, it just looks like floor underneath the bed. You don't see any, there's no boxes or anything like that. You're not sure what Titus saw.
So I think detect magic lasts for a while. So I'll have him sort of get down on the floor under the bed where I am comfortable. There's no traps. And have him look. I don't see anything under here. What do you see?
So Titus, when you kneel down and take a look under there, you can see that the magic is coming from under the floorboards.
It's coming from under the floorboards. And the phone line's been disconnected.
The
And
calls are coming from
From
inside.
in the house. Yes. Yes. So I'll go through. We'll save that for now. And apparently the hairbrush and the mirror are visually available.
They are magical.
So I'll let the magic person deal with those.
Okay.
But the chests and if I'll look for any, again, hidden safes, that kind of thing in the walls. Basically at this point, mental note, there's something under the floorboards that's magical.
Right.
But I'll do a complete sweep of the rest of the room.
Search of the house. Okay. Or search of the room. Yep,
Yeah.
absolutely. So give me a quick perception.
Both of us are
21, 22 for traps.
All right, you don't see any traps, and you don't really see anything other than like a bunch of like personal items and clothing and stuff like that is what you can see. You don't see anything that's obviously wealth of any kind or something that would be, it's not very interesting stuff.
Yeah, well, I personally am not looking for wealth.
Okay.
I'm looking for like stuff that's going to prove, well, we already know who she is, but again, prove that she's been up to nefarious no good. So once I've done that and the chests are full of clothes and whatnot,
Yeah, and I mean, you check for like secret bottoms and stuff like that. You don't
Yeah.
find anything like that either.
I'm gonna move the bed off its spot
Okay.
to try and get to the floorboards beneath,
Okay.
and I'll get.
Yeah, bed moves easily, and you do once you have moved the bed, you can see it would be difficult to see from the side because it's almost like in the directly underneath the center of the bed. But there does seem to be a small. It looks like she's actually physically removed a couple of the floorboards and then replaced them. It's actually quite well done, actually.
Well, I'm gonna check for traps again, and then try to pry up those floorboards with a dagger.
Okay. Give me another check for traps, please.
17.
You don't see any traps. It looks clean. I mean, it doesn't look. There's no lock or any handle on it. You would have to
Yeah.
pry it up, but
So I'll pry that up.
okay. The boards come up fairly easily. I mean, you're able to slip a dagger in there, and the boards come up quite easily. There's a small sort of void underneath there, about 2 foot by 3 foot in size. In that void is a medium-sized chest, and then another smaller, differently shaped box.
Then I'll check for traps on the outside of those items and pull them out of the hole.
Okay.
Provided they're not trapped.
30
31.
perception. All right. The box, the oddly shaped box, is not trapped. It's got a little hasp on the side. It doesn't even seem to have a lock on it, and you're able to pull that up quite easily. It's about I don't know, the size of like about a shoebox, but strangely shaped. The chest, however, has a large and fairly complex looking padlock on the front of it. Hasp block, and you can see as you're sort of looking over it, it does have some sort of needle trap in it that would go off if you were to start digging on that with your tools.
Okay, so I can. The chest is safe to pull out of the hole.
Chest is safe to pull out of the hole. It won't dislodge the thing. You go to start working on that lock without the key, and that you could set off that needle.
Right.
It's a needle trap.
Okay, so I'm gonna pull those two things out of the hole, and we can take those with us instead of
Okay.
risking the chance of getting incapacitated here
That's good thinking.
to be sort of reviewed later in safer environments. And then I think we're pretty much done here. We've got all the paperwork that we can maybe have somebody else look over that seems to have not necessarily caught. Like, I don't know necessarily what the code is, but it seems there's obviously some kind of underworldly code there. Or potentially, right?
It's very vague. You're looking at those things, and it's deliberately vague. You could tell that they're deliberately not being specific. They have to exchange information, but they're being deliberately vague so that for exactly the reason that you suspect. If somebody found themselves looking at these documents, they wouldn't have a very good idea of what was going on. They look relatively legitimate, and they were just setting out on her table, so it's obvious that it wasn't. And as Amelia mentioned, she's allowed to come in there periodically. She brings things to her, that kind of stuff. So obviously Talindra feels comfortable enough with Amelia and those documents being in the same space. It doesn't seem like she's overly secure.
Right. They don't have to be hidden away. They're the language in them is vague and obfuscating. So we'll collect all that up, including the oddly shaped box in the chest,
Okay.
without messing with the lock, and then we'll set out of there. We'll go to the window, wait for the guard to wander by mindlessly, and then exit.
All right, give me a couple more stealth rolls. One each, you and Titus.
And I'm going to aid him.
Okay, excellent. All right, Titus, you'll get that extra +2.
Right.
15. Okay. Yeah, you guys managed to get out of there. There's a little bit of it's a little bit delicate moving the chest and the box out. So one of you goes out first and then hands the other one out, and it makes a scrape noise on the window, but the guys don't wake up and you manage to get out of there clean.
And then head back to our manor house.
Yep. All right, so you guys end up back at the manor house, and it's coming. You're about an hour before dawn at this place. It's been a long night. Lots going on. Talindra, who you're pretty sure is Talindra, is still tied in there. Poe's been standing guard, pretending to be asleep. Periodically, Vondram will go in there and check it out. And Ono has been sleeping the sleep of a righteous young man, quietly. By the way, hello, Eric. You've been awfully quiet.
Sorry, it took me a long time to get her to bed.
She's a stinker, that one.
She's just wanted to stay awake. Anyway, I have been listening.
Okay.
Attentively to
Okay.
Piece together the plot.
Okay, perfect. All right, so just maybe an hour before dawn, Wraith, you and Titus return to your manor house with these materials in tow, and what you've learned from Amelia, which I'm assuming you share with the rest of the party.
Of course.
All right, what do you guys do next?
Well, now that I'm here in a safer environment, I'm gonna work on these boxes.
Okay.
But I think at some point we need to get together. I don't know if everybody else is as comfortable as I am with the fact that we've confirmed this is Talindria. Based on what we got from the servant girl, and I'll show them the documents and say these won't tell you anything on the surface, but I've had some dealings with the underworld, and this is how they communicate. So if you catch their missives or you intercept their missives, you'll learn nothing. But they're communicating their sort of illegal deeds or nefarious stuff this way. And if we can find somebody who is more schooled at that than I am, maybe they'll be able to figure out the patterns. I can't, but I can tell you this is not normal. Invoices for services rendered without specifying what they are, things about meetings, about things we've discussed prior. This is sort of standard underworld activity. It proves nothing, but it suggests that there's more there. So this was the best I could find. I brought it all back. People smarter than me can look at this if you'd like. I've got some boxes to deal with.
I hope there'll be something in the boxes that'll shed some light.
Yeah, possibly. So
Okay.
the odd shaped box you said wasn't trapped.
No, it's not trapped.
Once I'll go to a room separately so that any damage that happens one way or the other only happens to me, and I'll open that one.
Okay. Inside, so the hasp just opens. It's not locked or anything. And you find that this is not, the reason it's oddly shaped is that this box is custom made for what it contains. And what it contains is an exquisitely crafted hand crossbow, a series of 8 darts specifically made for this, and nestled in little slots inside the thing that are specifically made for it are 2 glass vials that contain what looks to be some sort of viscous liquid.
Vondram's standing over your shoulder. He's
gray in color.
Yeah, I would, when I see the vials of liquid, Vondram's the first one I think of. Because I'm thinking this is poison. So I'm not touching it. I'm not touching it. I'm getting the chemist, the specialist, to take a look at this stuff. Okay.
But yeah, I mean, this particular this crossbow, it doesn't radiate magic, but it is exquisitely crafted. I mean, obviously custom made, inlaid with silver and mithril, and it's designed. It's unique. The 8 small bolts, they're much smaller. I mean, I don't know how much hand crossbow experience you have, but they're much smaller than a normal crossbow bolt, and frankly, to your eyes, probably smaller than a standard hand crossbow bolt. I mean, these obviously the bolts, and these bolts are made entirely of metal. There's no wood in there, so it's just a single shaft and blade.
Delivery of poison.
Yeah, they're made. They look to be steel, but highly polished, exquisitely crafted. And then there's the two insets where there's two vials, both containing sort of an oily gray liquid in there. But the whole thing locks together, and it's obviously that the case was made for this bow, and the bow was made specifically for somebody. There's no name or anything on it, but it was somebody spent a lot of money on this.
Would a craft alchemy help to identify it?
The liquids?
Mm-hmm.
Sure.
And just out of curiosity, how many people are there on the board?
Like the sequin board?
Yeah.
That's a great question. I think 8, but some of them have died.
Well, this just strikes me as a weapon intended for an assassin. There are 8 bolts, custom made. So there's only right now that we know of 8 pieces of ammunition for this particular weapon. And you have some sort of poison with them. It seems like you would expect that to kill 8 specific people.
Seems like a conspiracy theory in the making.
I've got my tinfoil hat crafted. Give it to me.
I'm not saying you're wrong.
Secret. All right, hold on. Let me check. I don't know if there's 8 specifically. I gotta check. So I'll have that momentarily.
Okay.
I rolled a 16 less, so I'd like to try again when I can.
So the council, you rolled a 16?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, this is, I mean, you're not sure. You're a bit reluctant. I mean, you're just basically doing it on observation. I mean, you're shaking it up to the light. It does seem quite viscous. It's very oily. These are the characteristic. I mean, you're not sure what exactly this liquid is, but it does exhibit most of the characteristics that you would normally associate with a contact poison. The Council of Sequin is comprised of several people, including Simeon as representative from the Lyceum. Vortbert is a member of the council as the city magistrate. He was. Sidoneth was on the council. And then Xavius Phobane was also a war leader. And you had Laura Beck on that council. And that was largely it.
Okay. Well, like I said, my first impression is this weapon was designed to assassinate a specific number of people. Because you can't re-ammo it tomorrow.
Hmm.
And they
No.
specifically mastercrafted 8 projectiles.
Yep.
So I'll leave Vondi to his work on the poison, and I'm going to start working on the trap.
Okay.
So I already know it's there.
Yep. Yeah,
So
and it's a poison needle trap, and when you get a better look at it in the light, you think that the needle has some of that gray liquid on it.
Right. So I don't want any of that in my system.
Mm-mm.
So I'm going to ask Poe's the cleric, right?
Yep.
I'm going to ask Poe if he can provide me with guidance.
Oh no, you wake up a refreshing new day in Sequin, and you realize that your friends have kidnapped a woman and somehow acquired a bunch of chests, one of which is full of poison, and they have a new hand crossbow that Vondrum is toying around with, taking a look at. Some things have gone on in the night that you weren't aware of.
Great work, team. All right. Well,
Nothing says lawful good teenager like a good kidnapping.
I'm going to assume the kidnapped victim we have acquired deserved to be kidnapped because she is evil, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Wait, if Mike were here, I just want to add his input. As far as you know.
As far as I know. All right. Okay. All right. I'm going to bide my time and trust in the wisdom and prudent judgment of my colleagues.
It's always worked before. Luke, are you leaving?
Later,
All right.
bud.
Thanks for popping in, dude.
Bye.
All right.
Hit a Betsy.
All right. So, all right. You want to take a crack at that, at the deactivating that trap?
Yeah. Can Gordon help me, or can Poe help me out?
I don't have guidance, Chuck. It's not one
Do
of
you
mine.
have aid or prayer or bless or anything that gives me a +1?
I got bless, but I don't know if that's
No, that's a +1, not on skill checks.
yeah.
Well, I guess I'm on my own. All right, so I'll do disable device. 24.
24. All right. Well, that worked. It was a little bit dicey, and you had to be very careful with that needle because you were almost certain that it has some of that gray liquid on it. But you do manage to deactivate it, unhook the spring, and get the and essentially deactivate the needle.
Yeah. Well, I almost gave you a leg up on determining what the poison was by taking it myself,
The
but
hard
I
way.
managed to avoid that. Yeah, checking for traps the hard way. Now, is it locked?
It is locked.
So I'll try again. Ooh, Jesus, 17.
Yeah, that's not going to get it open. You're the lock defeats you with your natural 1.
Wow.
Obviously.
Ouch.
So based on the way the lock is set up,
Mhm.
is this something I can smash through? Or
Probably. I mean, I was smashing. You could probably smash through it. It will destroy the chest, which is quite well made. But if you don't care about that, yeah, you could probably take a mace or a Morningstar and just bash the lid open.
I can try to disable it before you do that. Let me give it a shot.
yeah, well now the trap's disabled.
Yeah, Ono's willing to give it a shot as well.
If
Expanding
anyone
his
else
repertoire.
wants, if anyone else wants to try to disarm the lock or disable the lock,
I've got a negative. But I'll keep away.
you're
You make
welcome
the
to try.
lock worse.
Yep.
Yeah,
19's not going to be enough.
it's more locked than it was before.
Yeah, it's double lockdown.
It's even more locked. Les, I'll try. What should I roll, sir?
Disable device.
Disable
device.
We
device.
can we can both aid him, right?
Yep.
All right.
Oh, okay, hang on.
Whoa!
No.
Well,
Oh, that's the aid check. All right, so yeah, definitely +2
All right. Plus 2.
and +4. Wraith is delivering an additional aid to you.
Yes.
So it's plus 6.
Yeah.
+6.
I'm
I'm sorry, +4. Sorry.
Plus 4.
Onto whatever your bonus is. What's your bonus?
Me?
Yeah.
Plus 6.
+6. All right, so +4 to that. +10.
Yes, sir.
That's pretty
All right,
good.
so I roll a 10 plus 10.
20. It's just there's a moment where you think that you're just like, I'm never going to get this, and then all of a sudden you manage to hook one of Wraith's tools around a lever or something, and click, you hear a loud click. Wraith, you're just disgusted.
No, I'm dude, you've got a career if you want one. You're gonna have to ditch that lawful good thing, but
Yeah,
you
might have
you have good hands, my friend. Good hands.
you might have a future in the nefarious arts.
I have
Actually,
an
I forgot.
extremely.
Plus, I got the
really
Masterwork
high
Thieves
dex
tools.
score.
That's a +1 too, right?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So I would have got a 22. So
Yeah, you would have gotten it probably, but that's okay. We'll let Ono run with it.
Yeah.
He's very pleased with himself and that kind of
Yeah.
stuff.
That's one step towards my getting him into the nefarious arts.
All right, inside. Well, one of the things that you flip the lid on this thing. One of the things you see is the thing that you're struck with is that the interior contents of this thing are very tidy. You have little wooden boards that are separating the bottom of the chest into various kind of almost internal custom compartments inside the chest. On one side, on the left side, you see what look to be 2 sort of rows. Each has a small leather tied bag and there are 10 of these bags, and their bags are exactly the same. They're tied in the same way, and they're all sort of in lines. Next to that is a small box made of wood, also very exquisitely carved. It's about the size of a cigar box. Is on sort of on the side. Then next to the cigar box is what looks to be a case, a scroll case, maybe some sort of tube, and it looks like it's made out of ivory. Probably has some significant value in and of itself. You also see another larger leather bag, which seems to be it's made of the same style that the 10 bags on the left are, but it's larger. And you can obviously you can see there's some large lumpy things inside. You also see, again, in these little compartments that look like they've been customly designed, you see 4 individual potions, each 2 in 2 rows. So each of the duets of potions seem to be of the same kind. This is what was radiating magic, you think, for Titus.
Okay, and so we've got magic people, and we've got pretty much everyone else.
Okay.
So if we go through these things, I mean, you can detect magic, but you already know that these glowed before.
Yep.
I can check for traps. Well, let's do that anyway.
Okay.
32.
You do not see any additional traps on the inside of the chest.
Right. So untie and unbundle one item from each of the sections.
Okay.
Going under the idea that the matching sections that all look the same are probably all the same thing.
Okay.
So go and investigate all of those and see what we've actually found.
Okay. On the left, the 10 sacks, well, they're not sacks, they're like little leather pouches, but they're
Right.
bulging, and when you pick one up, it obviously has the similar heft that they were filled with coins. You look in each one, and you can see that each one of these sacks has exactly 50 gold nobles in it. Sargavan nobles, Sargavan coinage.
Not good.
Not good.
Well, a lot of people use Sargavan coins.
Oh,
It was
50
largely
gold
it's largely the money that prior to the war that got used a lot. The further you get from Eladar, the less these are used, and oftentimes here out in the hinterlands, you'll see Mwangi coins, Elvish coins. All of these are used in Sequin. Largely, everybody really knows it, but these are definitely Sargavan mint.
So 50 times 10.
Yeah. Each
And
segregated in exactly rounds of 50, and each in their own bag.
So I'll roll up the next one, tie it back up, or roll up the one I untied, tie it back up and put it in place.
Okay.
Then move on to the next section.
The next section held a wooden box about the size of a cigar box and a ivory case, document case.
So the wooden box.
Mm-hmm. The wooden box flips open quite easily. There's no lock or anything on it, and it is filled with small gems. It looks to be a variety of different kinds of gems. Some of them quite small, which may only be as much as 10 gold pieces worth. Some of them are larger. There could be 100 gold piece worth. None of them are huge, though. There's not any like grand jewels here. This gives you the impression, as a former underworld sort of fellow, this is ready cash.
Right.
In various things that's easily transportable. Your guess, first looking at, probably about 1,200 gold pieces worth of value here in this box.
Right. And
it's in a variety of different denominations.
It's all small, basically small change or small denomination type stuff.
Yeah, largely 10s, 20s, and 50s is what you would think.
Right. It won't be noticed. It can be used for easy payoff. So that's basically money too. And then the ivory,
it's a scroll case, and it's like a scrimshaw scroll case. It's made out of some sort of some sort of aquatic ivory, maybe a narwhal's tusk or walrus tusks or something like that. It's very beautiful. You guess it's probably worth 50 gold pieces all on its own.
Right. And what's in it?
So you pull the documents out, and they're not magical documents. They're not scrolls by anything, but they are documents. And the first thing you notice is that they are letters of marque. One of them is Sargavan, and basically in Chilaxian and Common, it says the bearer of this document is to be given all due consideration and is able to pass through Sargavan pickets. Signed, Inquisitor. The name of the Inquisitor is somebody you haven't heard of, but I've heard of them. Hold on, I'll give you that name. Rullus, Rullus. You haven't heard that name before, but it's Inquisitor Rullus, the Sargavan Scourge, et cetera, et cetera. It's dated about a year ago.
Right.
The next one is another letter of marque, and this is from the Osibu Mwangi. It's written in Mwangi, polyglot, and Common, and Sargavan, in Chilaxian, High Chilaxian, and it basically says largely the same thing. The bearer of this document is to be given every consideration, is not to be harmed or molested in any way, and is given leave to travel through the environs of the Osibo and the Screaming Jungle, that kind of thing.
Yeah, who's that one signed by?
This one you don't recognize. It's some sort of polyglot sigil.
I speak polyglot.
You speak polyglot. It is signed by a Mwangi, a chieftain of the Mwangi, a guy named Nerulus. I'm sorry, that's wrong. It's not Nerulus. Hold on a second. I have it here. Iltavar. Iltvar. And it's Chieftain Iltavar Osibo.
Right. And is there another one?
No, just those two documents.
2 letters of marque are what's in that.
2 letters of safe passage, yeah, essentially.
One from Sargava and one from the Osibu Mwangi.
Mm-hmm. Signed by a member, one signed by the member of the Scourge, the other by a chieftain of the Osibu Mwangi. You've never heard of this Iltavar guy,
Yeah.
But he would have to be fairly senior to be able to even grant something like this.
Right. And then
her name is the name of Talindra is on both of them. Talindra Charismas.
Yeah.
Nothing about any Lady Saphiel.
Right, they're hers.
All right, next up is in the next section is another leather bag. This one larger than the ones with the 50 coins. Hey, look at this. Okay. Hold on a second. I just got a message from Arendar.
Yeah.
He must be back.
I did too a long time ago. Said it would be here in 30 minutes. He lies.
All right, here we go. I'm just gonna give him this. All right. So it's a larger and heavier, frankly. You can feel from the outside that there's 2 large brick-like things in there. You open it up. It looks like, to your eyes, 2 ingots of Sargavan platinum, because it has the stamp of the Eladarian stamp on it. It has
something the local townspeople use too?
No, your guess that each one of these ingots of platinum is probably worth close to 800 gold pieces. This is not something you would go to the market with.
Well,
2 ingots of platinum.
Mm-hmm. And they have not only the Sargavan stamp on them, but they also have the Chilaxian stamp, the Asmodean horns.
Yeah, platinum. Spell it correctly, and it won't give you the squiggly line. And that's worth approximately 1,600 gold pieces.
The 2 of them, yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
They're thick and heavy.
Again, rewrap everything and put it back.
Okay. And then there's just the 4 bottles, 2 in 2 pairs. There's no labels on the bottles, but the first set has a pinkish liquid in it. The other one has a sort of pale green liquid.
I pop some tops and see if I can.
Yeah, and once again, I will call in Vondi.
Okay. Vondram, you recognize the pale pink liquids as a fairly standard kind of potion of extra healing.
Nice.
But you also recognize that after you take a look at it and give it a little taste, that this would probably neutralize poison as well.
Very.
You guys hear me?
The second one's the pale green bottles. You're guessing
Mike.
are. Hey, Mike.
Yes, I can hear you.
You can hear me then.
Hey, there he is. We can hear you.
Okay.
Welcome. How's Colorado?
Amazing.
Yeah.
How stoned are you?
I live in Illinois. We can get stoned anytime we want.
Baked out of his mind.
Don't front. Why does anybody else go to Colorado?
Maybe he's skiing or something. I don't know. I've heard people do that.
Where in Colorado are you, Mike?
We're in Denver right now. I actually used to live out here when I was younger. So
Did you really? I didn't know
we're
that.
actually friends that used to live a block from us a couple years back. They moved out here. So we're out here visiting them and I'm visiting family that I've still got out here.
Nice. When are you coming back?
A week from Tuesday.
Wow, long trip. Nice.
Yeah.
Nice
We're
to get away.
driving, so it better be a long vacation because there's lots of driving between point A and point B.
That's going to be beautiful driving, though.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
You doing the thin air thing?
Oh yeah, I'm getting tired at like 9 p.m. here.
Right?
Usually at home I stay up till midnight without even trying.
There's no oxygen in this air. What the hell am I supposed to do?
Oh,
Why anybody would want to go on a mountain is beyond me. I don't know. I'm a plainsman, a
you
lowlander.
got to respect the practicality of the people who settled Denver. I mean, they come all the way across the plains, like carrying their stuff, walking over here. Then they get to the mountains and they're like, "Whoa, okay, this is a great place to stay."
Yeah.
Yeah, this is it.
Honey, we're home.
Yeah.
All
Yeah,
right, so
in Missouri and Illinois, all of your towns have broken wagon wheels in front of them because that's where they said, fuck it.
yep.
These
right, we
people
have 'em.
marched on until they
that's-
saw giant mountains and were like, Jesus Christ,
Like,
can we
screw
be
that.
done?
We've made a critical error on this thing, on this
Can
trip.
we
Yeah.
be done? Just stop here.
Usually those broken wagon wheels are indicative of where the Indians got them.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is where we were murdered by Indians. Okay, so and then Vondram, the pale green liquid, potions of haste, and extra strong by the look of them.
Like a good potion, I do.
Extra strong. So we got 2 each of those. And is that all that's in the box?
That's all that's in the box.
Okay.
Can I try with the bolts again while we're at it?
With the vials?
Yeah, on the boat.
Yeah, sure.
Better.
28. Yeah, you got a better. You actually, instead of you're reluctant to open those vials, certainly because they look like contact poison.
Sure.
But you can get a better look at it because it's on you think it's the same liquid that was on the needle trap in the chest. So you can get a better look at it and kind of see how it reacts with oxygen and things like that. Your guess, and you're sort of taken aback, but your guess that this is a poison called Tears of Death is a strong contact poison that not only does constitution damage but paralyzes you.
Oh,
No fun. But I'm extremely excited.
I want those. Give me those.
sorry, didn't mean to post that.
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought you were like, you can't shoot me with that. I'm okay.
No, I did not mean to post
I
that.
got you. But yeah, it's virulent contact poison. Smearing it, and it has that. It's almost an oil. So smear it would definitely adhere to needles, crossbow bolts, things of that nature. Your guess is based on what you can learn of it. You probably got in those 2 vials. You probably got enough for each one of those bolts. Those 8 bolts.
Right. So that's 8 doses.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Does it look like those bolts can be readily made? Like once those 8 bolts are gone, can you purchase 8 more? Or does it all have to be masterwork to get just the bolts?
They're fairly simple in design, but the simplicity of their design belies sort of a bit of complexity there. You're guessing that a fairly talented smith could probably reproduce them, but he would want to. But the likelihood is that he would want to reproduce it from a model. You just saying, well, it kind of was about this long, and that
Right.
that probably wouldn't work. But if he had one to base it off, you're guessing that a good smith could build them. These are made of highly polished steel, very sharp.
Can anybody in our group use hand crossbows?
No.
Is it different than a regular crossbow? Because I'm using a regular crossbow for a launching crossbow.
It's not something that you would normally train with as a crossbow user. This is something. Well, they're typical of the drow.
Yeah, that's.
They're a simple weapon, aren't they? Though.
I think so, but they're not like normal crossbows. They don't. A normal crossbow is like a rifle. This is like a pistol. And one of the things I was thinking of is this seems like a drow weapon. And despite the fact that I'm half drow, I know jack shit about the drow. Except for the fact that if I find one of them, I'm going to riddle him with many, many arrows. That's the only thing I know. So I was trying to come up with a way to bypass that reality.
It is an exotic weapon, not a simple weapon. So
Yeah.
you would need specific proficiency to be able to use it effectively.
Right. But I think this, speaking aside to the group, I think this gives us something of a hand up on communications with lying Talindra. She knows what this is.
I believe you're referring to the Lady Saphiel.
Okay, so I'm gonna stab the Lady Saphiel
have we killed her yet?
in the face with one of these bolts
God.
after I punch it through this vial of poison and see what she wants to talk about.
But
Wow.
she's going to talk about a lot of things.
Yeah, no, I'm not gonna do any of that
He's going to want to talk about that potion.
yet. But now that we have this stuff, she knows what it is. It's hers. So if we go down and confront her with this oddly shaped box with this weapon in it, and sort of suggest that we're going to load up one of these bolts with this poison, which she damn well knows what it is, will she crack, or is she still going to be sort of the professional spy who continues to lie her ass off and roll 20s because less is a dick?
The dice speak for themselves, not me.
Okay, so here's
Can
the
I
deal.
try talking
I'm on
to
your
you
side.
with
Right.
Diplomacy.
I will tell her I'm going to kill her if she doesn't do anything, and I'll let her like 15 tries so she gets a natural 20 sense motive to tell that Arendar is telling the truth.
Are you really prepared to put her to death? To murder in cold blood in front of a lawful good teenager?
Let me try.
Oh no, I'd send the
diplomacy
lawful good
first.
teenager out to get,
And then what?
Get
Carry the
coffee or
body
something.
out? Things happen. Sorry, Odo.
We'd send
Wait,
him out for
Charm.
coffee. We'd send him out for coffee
right.
and
To go get us some coffee. I
Go
think
get
she's
us some-
going to be leaving.
go get us some lattes. We're going to escort her back home
Yes.
safe and sound.
Mm-hmm.
What are you gonna
Well-
weekend at Bernie's her ass back to her manor house and drop her off
Oh,
in
no.
front of Amelia?
No.
Oh, here's your mistress?
We'll just walk her back there before we kill her. It's all very good. But
It's
no,
all
so,
part of the plan.
right. So no, what I'm saying is at this point, we know that she's this person. And we know that she was responsible for Laura Beck's death, whether directly or indirectly, but at the orders of Wartburg, she did the things that sort of were a betrayal of not necessarily Sequin, but maybe Sequin, except for Wartburg and his coup and what have you. So
Sounds like she's a double spy, is what it sounds like. That she
Yeah.
worked for the Sargavans to trick Vortberg into doing the shit that he's done.
right. And the Sargavan money and the Sargavan letter of marque that allows her to move freely, and the Asubu that allows her to move freely through their lands. Sorry.
Mhm.
Yeah. She's a professional
Yeah.
spy. And she's stirring up shit on purpose.
Well,
Yeah,
Laura Beck
this is-
saw her in the company of Shalosha, the elvish leader.
Yeah, and who knows what influence she may have been doing there, but obviously her actions were.
She needs to die.
to side with Fortberg during his attack
we let her go.
and kill Lorbeck.
Yeah. And yeah, if Arendar thinks that there's a pretty good chance she was involved with Lorbeck's death, this is no longer in cold blood. This is
Yeah.
justice.
Well,
This
so
isn't murder, it's execution.
well, so I mean, if we look back on the situation, certainly Talindra did not kill Lorbeck, right? Talindra,
Mhm.
according to Lorbeck's ghost, Talindra basically came to her and said the battle is commencing. At which point Lorbeck said okay and decided to go, either accompany Talindra or go herself, go to the to the boat basin where the battle was going to take place, right? Because ostensibly she was going to try and put a stop to it, and or at the very least give, well, you think maybe give her friend Shalosha a heads up that this was coming. Now, nobody. One of the things that you guys don't know is nobody saw Lorbeck leave the refugee camp. Now, keep in mind this is during the height of the hurricane, so it's you know, easily possible that she could have walked out of there. She did, I believe she was found in her armor, so she would have had time to dress and had her weapons with her. But then Lorbeck's ghost also told you guys that she was killed by two human men, who were using elvish bows and arrows that they had somehow recovered from somewhere, and that they shot her and then caught up with her and then held her face under the water at the shore and essentially drowned her, you know, at the shoreline. That's how she died.
Right. But the other way of saying that is Talindra gave her information to intentionally lead her into what was a known trap.
It'd be the same as if, you know,
so
I
she's
told a
not,
parent that their child was in a burning building when they weren't, and they went in there and died. I didn't technically kill them, but I knowingly told them something that would lead them to do that.
That's
right.
Manslaughter.
Yeah, voluntary manslaughter.
Exactly. So she wasn't directly responsible. She didn't fire the arrows that killed Lorbeck, but she put the play into motion that got her to where she wanted her to where they wanted her to be, all of the conspirators, so that those two humans with elven bows could kill her, try to blame it on the elves, and ultimately the one who gained the most from it is Vortberg. He got his spin or his story that he wanted and used that to gain himself more popularity and more power. So,
well, and you guys are well aware that Lorbeck and Vortberg disagreed on almost every subject.
Yes.
Yeah.
And had done so for a long time.
And the ones who disagreed with Vortberg
are dead.
Were the ones that got killed in this battle. So was the battle even about battling the elves, or was it creating a scenario where they could get these two people into a situation where they could off them with plausible deniability? And sort of part and parcel of this is this elf, Talindra, helped do this.
Yep. Is it? Well.
And she's obviously a spy, double spy, triple spy, whatever. She's playing all sides against the middle. She might do whatever to whomever that ultimately best suits her, because she's got an escape plan if she needs one.
Speaking Spanish.
Porque no los dos? Why not both?
Why not both? Yes. She's got Sargavan money. She's got letters of marque that allow her to pass freely through either Sargavan or Mwangi lands. So, yeah, she may be working for somebody. She may be working for everybody, but ultimately she's working for herself. Right now, she's supporting Vortberg because he's the one that's come out on top as the potential victor in this messy situation. If he does something stupid and falls, she could easily be in support of the next person, right? Always being on the side of the person who's winning, while not making direct enemies on any side.
Well, Sargava's wanting to take this town, so
right.
I think ultimately she's working to put the town into a position where it can be taken. I mean, getting rid of those elves,
Right.
That was
that
huge.
would have been her mission. Yeah, that would have been what she's doing.
And supporting Vortberg, who perhaps you're right, his heart's in the right place, but he's making moves that make them more vulnerable and less likely to be successful against the Sargavans. So if she thinks, yeah, this guy really wants to accomplish this, but he's doing it in a bad way, I'll support him and set him up to fail. And that would ultimately mean she's supporting Sargava.
Well,
Right.
she's also an elf, and was seen and was seen by Laura Beck in the company on more than one occasion in the company of Lady Shalosha, who is the elvish leader at Sequin. Maybe she's working for the elves.
No.
Well, it
Why would
seems
she?
like she's a liar on all fronts professionally.
Yeah.
And like I said, she's working for whoever benefits her the most that moment. That's what it seems like to me. Because she's pretty much got it set up so that the elves trust her, Vortberg trusts her, and the Sargravans trust her. And none of those three know the other two trust her necessarily. So I said, whoever she's got it banked so that whoever wins, she wins.
Yeah. And she certainly seems to have made some money doing this.
Yeah. Plus, she's getting rich on the whole conflict.
So, like 30 minutes ago, Arendar was okay with killing her. So, this is just more in his court.
That hasn't changed.
That hasn't changed. Matter of fact, it might be a little more solidified, but he's
I was
already,
willing to murder someone in cold blood 30 minutes ago, and I'm still willing to murder someone in cold blood.
I'm even more willing to do it now.
I
I'm
mean,
even more.
we need to consider though, can she be used to mend what happened between the elves and the city?
Exactly. Can she be
Ultimately,
used for
you know,
a number of things?
I mean, we have to avoid killing her and then ending up in a position where we're blamed for doing something and the town is still behind Vortberg and still, you know, going the direction it's going right now, which is not going to be good when the Sargavans come here. I don't
Right.
think anyway.
So that's why I was thinking up to now, because again, she's obviously a well-trained spy, resistant to zones of truth, resistance to anything. And she hasn't seemed to have been much afraid of any sort of threats or other nonsense. But if we can find something that's a strong enough threat to actually break her and could find out what she knows in several directions, then we might be able to figure out what use she would be to us. So basically, what I'm saying is, if we look like we're the ones that are going to come out on top, maybe she supports us, like she supports everybody who seems like they might come out on top, because that's her nature.
I still think you were right with your first thing, is that her home base is Sargavan, and she's in Vortberg's camp just to have him make decisions that weaken this whole area as a whole, so it makes it easier for Sargavan to come in here. So,
and it may be because they have the most money, or it may be she's sure they're going to win anyway. They're going to win anyway, so she might as well support them.
And I don't know of any way, anything she could do that would be helpful that Arendar would trust. I mean, he's not going to trust any single thing that comes out of her mouth. Like,
you have to have leverage on her that she can't.
Right.
I mean, we could probably use what we found here to tell Vortberg that she's working for the Sargavans, which would definitely turn him against her. But I don't know if that's going to help us. That's just going to make him stronger, which isn't something we want to do.
Right.
I mean, I think we should take this to the school, and talk to,
we're doing some very unlawful things here. If we take it to the school, I don't know.
Well, but I mean, we've talked to, I can't think of his name.
Simeon.
We've talked to Simeon. He knows what we've been working on, and he knows that we've been talking to the dead Larabex, who basically has told us that Vortberg has done these murders. So all we're doing is investigating what's been going on. It's not, I mean, technically we're not deputized or whatever, but still we're working on
the only issue is we're doing it twin style.
Well, and the thing of it is, Simeon is not like law enforcement in this town, right?
Right.
Ostensibly, the primary magistrate historically has been Vortbert. So
Right.
if there's somebody you could point to and say, and it's Vortbert who has largely been in charge of the local constabulary, and it's not. I mean, these guys aren't like high-powered police, right? They're and it was always Vortbert who was complaining that this influx of refugees is causing crime and that kind of stuff, and we can't control it, and we need to do that sort of thing. So that's what he and Laura Beck sort of disagreed on, because Laura Beck was like, well, how about I put several of my guys who are incorruptible paladins in charge? And he's like, no, we don't want that.
No, can't have
But
that because then I can't. Yeah.
but yeah, I mean, Magistrate Vortbert was the city magistrate. Still is technically.
And here's another question. Sort of playing the same game they're playing. Is there a way that we can benefit from her death?
If we can make some evidence look like she was doing something, plant evidence that shows that she was doing something obviously against the town or against, but it's got to be something, it's got to come out in a way where Fort Bert's people don't have access to that because they'll cover it up.
Public death. Papers and
So-
property.
Yeah, so like, for instance, not that we would, but if we take one of these bolts, put this poison on it and kill her with that, leave the bolt in there and throw in the river. She washes up on the shore and she's got some foreign looking weapon that is her cause of death. And if they go even further than that, she's got a foreign looking weapon and poison that is her cause of death. Then sort of who does that direct the responsibility to? Because I'm thinking this crossbow with these bolts on it is potentially Sargavan technology.
So
It does.
what that
I
would
mean, you
do
can
is-
examine it if you want.
Well, yeah, but I'm not an expert on that kind of stuff.
Okay.
I don't know that I would be able to determine who made it or whose technology it is. I mean, from my perspective, with no sort of talent in that, it doesn't look elven. They don't make little tiny bows like this.
Poe can do that, Les. He's got his marketplace thing where he can.
Oh, there you go.
send
You want to do
some-
that?
Yeah, sure.
Okay.
Listen to the whispers of items as though they are alive, giving you clues to their function.
What was the name of that power?
It's called Voices of Solid Things. It's it's one of those things you can pick from. based on-
Gotcha. Where I'm looking for that. Where is that at?
It was probably in a small campaign that, had the witch market, and
Yeah.
I don't know that it's going to be common.
Is it an occult ritual?
No, it's like a background skill that you get based on having been raised in the witch market.
Oh, gotcha. Okay. Hold on. Let me look here.
See if I can find it. I probably have a link to it somewhere here.
I'm Googling it real quick. God dang it. I'd be dangerous if I could freaking type.
Tell people that all the time.
Ah, here we go. Archives of Nethes comes through. Voices of Solid Things. All right, here we go. You traveled the witch market for a time, either willingly or what have you. Okay. It's loading. Hold on. Loading. So while this is loading up, Dawn has broken. Okay, so here is the Voices of Solid Things. In your time, you learn to listen to the whispers of items as though they were living creatures, giving you clues as to their function. Choose appraise, craft, disable device, or spellcraft. You apply your charisma modifier on checks with that skill instead of the skill's normal ability, and that skill is a class review. Okay, yeah. So you can listen to the weapon to see what you can learn about it.
Okay, so you want me to do like a disabled device is what I chose out of those.
Okay, yeah, absolutely.
Let me just say real quick, even if this does turn out to be Sargavan and we do what Chuck said, I think the only thing that will do is make it look like Sargavan's killed Vordbert's trusted advisor. It won't make him any weaker. I mean, she'll be dead still, but it won't make him any weaker. If anything, it will increase the resolve of the people who are with him that Sargava needs to die, and if they're
I think just
threatening his people.
taking her out of the picture is going to be the best thing we can do. To
Oh
make
yeah,
her bird,
I
'cause
agree wholeheartedly.
But
I
can't
mean,
we plant one of these letters on her or something that?
Well, and I was using that as an example, but
I
if
don't know
we
if we need to
find
kill
out,
her.
if we find out sort of all the stuff, right? We could take one of the badges that Vortbird's people wear, shove a short sword through her gut, like the weapons they carry, and
Mm-hmm.
clutch that into her hand, and then throw her in the river. Rigger's going to make her hold it.
I think ultimately what we should do with her is try to save her and get her to Shalosha and her father, because I think they're the ones that are going to be really interested in what she's been up to and what she's been doing. And they're the ones who are going to be able to benefit from having her and trying to interrogate, what's been going on with her. Given that she's an elf, I don't know that it's really our.
Well,
I don't
she's
think it's our
also
plan.
an elf. So there's a lot of different kinds of elves around here. So one of the things that you'll have noticed is Shalosha is what you would consider to be a high elf, the standard elvish features, right? Tall, blonde haired, pale skin. Talindra is more like a local elf, or what they would refer to as an Akuje, or an Akuja, which is more sort of elves that you would find in the Mwangi expanse. So darker skin, darker hair, darker eyes. So they are physically. I mean, they're still elves, obviously, but they're physically different. It's not dark in the sense that drow are dark. It's more, sunlit, equatorial elves, I guess, for lack of a better term.
Hey, check your racism there, buddy.
What? What's wrong with equatorial?
Drow, check your racism.
I love the drow. All right, so you rolled a 12 on the voices of the solid things. So it doesn't tell you much, but it does whisper that it was designed on based on drow technology, but is not of the drow. And it also says, it basically is like, I love to kill. And I was designed for a specific purpose, and I love to fulfill that purpose. And I have done so on numerous occasions in the past. I have fulfilled my purpose.
Right.
It loves to kill. I mean, you're taken it back by the glee that comes off of this crossbow.
Well, I'll pass that along to everybody. It's Simeon.
Okay, in that case,
Do you have a relationship with the elves?
Just give it to me.
He was friendly, certainly, with Lady Shalosha and worked with them. Yeah, absolutely. He was also surprised when Shalosha came in and basically said that her father had ordered her to essentially take over Sequin. He was quite surprised and felt that I think he had admitted to you guys at one point that he felt like she had overstepped quite a bit.
That was a little heavy-handed.
Yeah. Yeah, he wasn't happy about that. And I think he told you also that he felt like even Shalosha felt that it was overstepping their authority, and was going to cause more problems, but that she was not in a position to sort of contravene the edicts of her father. That Lord Shaladel of the Plains is the lord of a large amount of elves, and in a large part has been sort of guiding the elvish response to the Sargavan incursions on those plains. So you guys remember when you guys came out of the fire forest, you'll remember that you ran into some elves, and they told you that the Sargavan forces and the elvish outriders, there was a lot of elvish there's been a lot of skirmishing in the plains against the elves of the plains versus the Sargavans, and it's been some pretty fierce fighting too down to the south of where you were in the fire forest. People were
that whole thing too. Les could be that could be a result of Talindra and the things that she did behind the scenes. I mean, she could be influencing what the elves were doing to make them take a position that they wouldn't normally do. I mean, that was very out of character, I would say, for the elves to kind of come in here in heavy hand saying they were going to take the town over. That sounds like something that was pushed by people that didn't have their best interests in mind.
It could be that is what you're looking at now, that square sort of in the middle. that and down towards, well, you guys are from Gate Pass, so you will know that the plains elves ranged pretty far and wide. I mean, they largely held they were largely a force to be reckoned with through this entire area. I mean, if you look at this whole area here, up into this area, I mean, this sort of plain area, along the rivers and off into almost to the top of North Sargava, that's largely the remit of the plains elves. Now, historically, they're not warlike. So, I mean, even when you guys were coming across the various farmsteads and stuff that's in this area, oftentimes those people would have relationships with the elves. They would know of them. The elves would know them. There was it wasn't contentious. It wasn't like the elves that were highly xenophobic and they were fighting against the human incursions. There was a lot of collaborative effort there. And certainly the elves were okay with the idea of humans and others farming this area, settling this area. There was no, it wasn't like, we're stealing the elves' land. But they certainly were not massive friends of the Sargavans, but so long as the Sargavans stayed largely in Eladar, then they didn't care, as long as they were allowed to sort of do what they do. It was only after the Sargavans took Gate Pass, basically sawed the valley in half, the river valley in half, and began moving north and east, that the elves reacted, and they reacted militarily. Because that's the provocation. The provocation was military as well. I mean, the elves were well aware of what had happened at Gate Pass after it happened. News travels fast. They knew that the Sargavans were doing a strong military push. Elves are, and the Scourge dislikes any sort of arcane magic, and the elves are, they do a lot of arcane magic. So you can imagine the Scourge feelings about the elves were, probably not great either. So it wouldn't necessarily have taken a big push for the elves to go to war against the Sargavans, considering the provocation that they were confronted with. But as Gordon, as you point out, I mean, it may have just needed one advisor to say, "Hey, the Sargavans are gonna murder you guys unless you do something about this," and then it would have sort of tipped the dominoes.
Right. That's what those kind of double spies do. That's what they.
Yeah.
So that's what their whole purpose. So the problem we have now, though, is if we try to keep her alive and save her, maybe we can go talk to the other elf, and maybe she can help us get a hold of the elves.
Shalosha?
But,
yeah, you're assuming that Shalosha has returned to her father's
Actually,
ancestral lands.
we know she's there because we asked the question and was told she was there.
right. No, I'm
Right.
talking about the elf that we need, the other elf that we haven't contacted yet, who can get us in contact with Shalosha.
Right. But the other thing is, she was formerly friends, quote unquote, with Shalosha. So if we take her there, it's a group of people she doesn't know, telling her her friend is some spy double agent. She's really good at lying. So I'm thinking that's going to blow up in our face.
Yeah, well, we do have.
She's going to lie her way.
documentation. I mean, we've got the things that we took from her house.
Yeah, and none of it is directly damning.
Well, the pass is saying you can go anywhere with her name on it. They're kind of damning. I mean, that pretty much points spy.
Well, maybe, but
Or courier.
That's what I think.
I mean, a
They're-
Sargavan courier.
They're good. They're people who can lie convincingly, that can come up with an alternative spin on that. Kind of like Les and his constant cold-blooded murder of very evil, very bad people. He can spin that so that you think it sounds like a bad idea. Because
No.
he's good at that. Not because it's right, just because he's good at it.
Well, and that's why we probably need to involve the Simeon and this elf who's from this town.
I still think if we're going to try to help ourselves, we make it look like Vordpert's people killed her. Because that weakens Vordpert in the eyes of the public. She was supposedly his ally. They've been seen in the company of each other, et cetera, et cetera. She winds up dead, and it appears that she was killed by Vordpert's people.
Well, why don't we try to talk to this other elf first? And
Who
see
does
what
who does that weaken Vortberg to? If it looks like if he killed her,
If it looks like he whacked one of his friends for no apparent reason, that should diminish his popularity with the every person in Sequin who is now all on board for him because he seems to be protecting Sequin poorly in reality. But
but she's not openly with him, is she? She just kind of silently works with him.
no, I think they've been seen together. She was supposed to be what we were told.
we have paperwork that links the two of them as
Yeah, that
as she
he was
a
one of
consultant.
hers.
Right. We have paperwork, but is it widely known, like throughout all town, that she works with him?
Well, no, because she's a spy and people think she's Lady whatever the hell.
Right. So I don't think that would,
I
since
think
there's no
it's-
public visibility that she and him work together, I don't know who that would.
And it looks like someone was assassinated by Vortberg's people, which is just generally bad. And ultimately, can I have the crossbow? Please?
I mean, if you kill her with that crossbow and link that crossbow to
No, that's not even in play. Like I said, that was an example of if we want to try to play the game they're playing, we kill her with and make it look like it was from a group of people that we want to weaken.
I mean, we're just turning ourselves into what he did at that time.
Yeah,
The
fire
other
with
thing
fire.
we got that 13-year-old girl who now knows. She's seen both of you. She knows Titus's name.
No, she hasn't seen me.
She's seen Titus though.
Seen Titus, and she knows his name. So I mean, whatever we do, we can't
Have
leave.
to
I
kill
mean,
her.
if you kill her, we can't leave her in that house alive. You're gonna have to kill that 13-year-old girl too.
No, the little girl thinks that Titus was trying to set up a birthday party.
Yeah, but she knows who Titus is, and when the girl is dead, and she tells the guards that Titus was there at the middle of the night asking about, who this person was, and claiming about a fake birthday that doesn't even exist for a birthday party. I mean, they're going to link all of us to her death.
Wait,
Not
I was disguised.
Not necessarily. Because the one thing we found out is she hated having Vortberg's guards there. She didn't want them. She didn't allow them in the house. If it looks like Vortberg's guards killed her, I don't think anybody's going to look is going to think to ask the 13-year-old, have you had any weird visitors in the night? That's not going to come up.
I'm just thinking of somebody asking her that. Have you had any weird visitors in the night? Oh, yeah, several times.
Yeah.
I mean, don't you think she would bring that up herself?
It's going to be follow the
when an
obvious.
inspection. I mean, there's going to be an inspection though. There's going to be police officers are going to go to the
Yeah,
house.
and actually, those
and
police
interview.
officers work for Vortberg.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know.
It makes whatever they come up with less reasonable when it appears obvious that it was Vortberg's people.
I just think she's too valuable to me to kill here. I think the elves could much better use what's in her head and the things that she's done. If we can tie her to what's happened with the elves, I think that's going to be a much more powerful play than Vortberg is going to burn himself out, especially now that he's lost his master spy, who's probably done 50% of what's been going on here has been her finagling things.
Okay. I'll go along with whatever you or the group decide. But this is yet another situation of not killing someone when they had the chance and they come back to bite us in the ass. So 10 months from now, when that happens, I'm not even going to say I told you so.
I'd rather
We were going to
You'll
kill her.
know
We
it.
just were going to change the.
You'll know.
I'd really rather keep her alive and kill Vortberg somehow. Now, if we were going to kill somebody, he's the one to kill.
Well, yeah, of course, but we can't kill him until we
Why
kill
not?
his name. Until we kill his name.
Why can't we kill him? We know that he's guilty of murdering several people. We know he's an evil person. Why
Right,
can't
but
we
he's
kill
got
him?
he's got the popularity. He's
Well,
got
yeah,
the
but I mean,
support
as
of
long as we don't
everybody
get
in
caught-
Sequin.
As long as we don't get caught killing him, then his popularity can die with him. It doesn't.
Kill him with the poison. The one with the poison that would have made it look like the Sargamians did it.
Yeah, you kill them both. You take the gun, put it in Talindra's hands, shoot him with it. He dies of poison. Then take his axe, split her head open with it, leave him in the front room at his manor.
That's
His
what I'm
manor-
saying.
His manor that's now a fortress
Yeah.
with 100 guards and whatever.
Before
it's
we do
kinda-
any of that, though, I think we should talk to Simeon, and I think we should try to find this other elf and try to get in contact with the elves.
Well,
So what
it's it. Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
So what do we do with her in the interim? Because if you tie her up, or if unless you keep constant guards on her, there's a chance she will escape.
Oh, a good chance.
She's a professional spy. She has plus 50 on her lies chuck. She's probably got a fairly decent escape artist check. I mean, to meta a bit. But
What we say if the poison does half paralyzation and constitution?
Con damage and paralyzation.
I mean, maybe we just paralyze the hell out of her and put her in a corner.
yeah, we don't know how long that lasts.
Or if she's built up immunity to it, if that's her go-to poison, that could be something she's built up an immunity to.
Yeah, it could be iocane powder. for
Right.
her. So that's what I'm saying. If you leave her, if you keep her around, even secured, tied up, bound, whatever, there is a chance, whether good or bad, that she'll escape and cause more problems. If we took her like right now as a group under sort of constant guard and tried to get her to the elves, if you think that's a better play, maybe that works. But the elves are, what is it? How far are they?
They're a ways downriver, probably. I mean, to get into the plains proper where the elves are, 70 miles, 80 miles.
So 70 or 80 miles, and then there's no guarantee that goes in our favor.
Right.
Because she's got friends among the elves that she'll paint some sad stack lying picture of we're just these bullies that have attacked her and kidnapped her, blah blah blah. So
Yeah.
I think we'd be walking into death at that point.
Well, that's why we need to involve Simeon and this other elf in town who knows what's been going on. I mean, there's
Right. But Simeon's a college president.
Yep.
He's got no legitimate power. He might be sympathetic. He might have some advice, but otherwise he doesn't.
He's
He
pretty
can't-
well connected.
Yeah, he's more than that. I mean, he's kind of like, what's the Harry Potter guy, the head of that college?
Dumbledore.
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 Yeah, I would compare him more to that than like a head of a regular college. It's a magical college, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, of course.
So
And
there's some power there.
He's got friends and he's got some other stuff, but
He might be able to take her and hold her and neutralize her too until we can figure out what this other elf is, and if we can get contact with.
I don't
Well,
think
it's
all of them.
interesting that you guys are talking about Simeon, because later that morning, as you guys are debating this, after dawn, about 8:30, 9 o'clock, a messenger comes to your house and tells you that Simeon, and there's somebody at the college, and that if you are free in about an hour, there's somebody he wants you to meet. And if you could come by the Lyceum in about an hour and a half.
Sure, we're gonna bring some special baggage that needs some.
Like a big sack clunking along behind you on the cobblestone roads. Ow, ow, ow. That'll be real good.
that you need to.
Real good.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, Gordon made a good point. Simeon has Sidoneth under lock and key, right? So Sidoneth's alive. He's just jailed. Sidoneth's a very powerful magic user, right? Theoretically, whatever same protections that keep Sidoneth from escaping from the Lyceum could potentially be used to keep Talindra from escaping, right? She hasn't given you any indication that she is a magic user of note. You're not really sure what she is, although the evil little crossbow would seem to indicate that she's at least something of an assassin.
Yeah. But like I said, all of our evidence,
It's all
I don't know
circumstantial.
how much Simeon knows us. We've helped out, but
Well, he's in your debt. I mean, frankly,
Right,
you
so-
guys, you guys
right.
caught Sidoneth. You guys stopped the hurricane. You've done a great deal of service to him.
right. But we
And
bring
he knows we've talked to Laura Beck's
Right.
ghost too. I mean,
so he does know that, but okay. We're bringing a weak case against her when we bring her in and say, hey, this girl is respected throughout the community. We think
Well,
without question you
we
should tie her up
already
and don't
talked to
tell her.
him. No, we talked to him already about but she's the one that led Laura Beck out into the water. I mean, she's the one that was the whole reason that Laura Beck went out there.
Mhm.
Yeah, you have told him that. And to
Okay.
your point, Mike, I don't
Okay.
know that respected in the community is. I mean, she's not like a widely known figure. She has money,
Okay.
obviously, and she
Okay.
does she does do that. But it's not.
Okay.
I don't know that you would be able to consider her to be widely known. I mean,
Okay.
she has been seen with Fort Bird on a couple of occasions, but only a couple. She seems to be independently wealthy and comports herself like an elvish aristocrat. She goes horse riding and, generally, but she only has a single servant and a small manor home, small 2-story manor home. She's keeping, I mean, she's sort of keeping a low profile while being influential. She's not
Right.
really flaunting a lot of money as rich people go and aristocrats though. She's sort of flying under the radar.
Okay. And yeah, I forgot we'd already told him that we were looking into this girl. So,
Mhm.
All right.
And
I think it's probably the best. Just take it to him and
it's the whole thing's out of the bag now anyway, because they probably know she's gone now, and they probably already talked to the 13-year-old kid who's going to talk about Titus and the fact that he interviewed.
Well, Titus did tell her that it has to remain a big secret.
Well, yeah, maybe she'll not. But it's
And I mean, is Talindra the kind of woman who disappears for a couple of days at a whack?
Yes.
if she's a spy, then yes.
Yeah, maybe we got time then. I just think she's definitely a weak link, that kid, because she knows who Titus is and she knows that he was there asking questions in the middle of the night.
Send Ono to take care of her. Gloria blows on a 13-year-old girl.
I'm not sure that'll be effective. She doesn't have any nuts he can punch.
Oh, that's true. He punched Sidoneth in the nuts twice. That's just rude.
Which will be an ineffective strategy against a 13-year-old girl.
That's true. No nuts to punch. But yeah, I mean,
So how do we get her to him?
Well, that's a good question.
Because yeah, we can't. Weekend and Bernie's are over.
I think the Weekend at Bernie's style of moving people around is underrated. I think
we should give it a shot.
Can we put her in a sack, a handy haversack, or an extra dimensional space of some sort?
I don't think she could fit in a handy haversack. Maybe a large bag of holding she certainly could go into, but
no air in there.
Well, there's some, but not a ton. Do you have a bag of holding?
I don't
Sure.
think so.
I've got a handy haversack.
So a handy haversack will only hold 2 cubic feet in volume, or 20 pounds in weight.
If we chop her up in small enough pieces, I'm pretty sure we can get her to fit.
8 cubic feet in the main pack, or 80 pounds of material. She weighs more than 80 pounds.
Yeah.
And I don't know if she's more than 8 cubic feet of material, but you'd have to disengage certain
What
things.
if we reduce her?
Well, yeah, if you do like the reverse of enlarge, what is it? And smallin. If you
Next to
cast that
reduce
on her,
person, we'd have to do it every 12 minutes or do a permanency spell.
We don't have.
12 minutes would be enough to get across town.
what is
It
it?
reduces her by 50%.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you reduced her,
going-
she could fit in the handy haversack.
Knock her out and reduce her.
Yeah.
You got that spell?
Well, the problem is I do have it, but I did not memorize it for today.
Well, you've got a new day here, so
Okay, but I do.
so
Let's do that.
half height, length, width, and dividing its weight by 8. That would if you did that to her, she would fit in the handy haversack. But it only lasts, in this case, 1 minute per level.
Up 6.
6 minutes.
6 minutes.
How far we gotta go?
Hold on a second. It's across. I mean,
We can just run. Get a horse. We'll gallop over there.
so
Yeah,
your
rent a
house
horse and
is
put her on a horse.
your house is is surrounded in blue, has the blue circle there. See it
Yep.
right there? The Lyceum is the big yellow circle over here. So it's across the boat base. So theoretically, if you jumped in a boat and scooted across there, yeah, maybe it'd be a hell of a rush.
What's the scale here? How many feet is that across?
It's probably 600 to 800. No, it's more than that. I'd have to check. I don't know for sure the scale, but
Are we right
reasonably
on the water?
big. Yeah, you guys were very close to the water.
Would it be faster to rent a horse and take her by horseback?
Definitely
Well,
would be faster.
Maybe we could just rent a little boat and just go across.
Boats
the
aren't
water.
that fast.
No.
Well, I mean,
they don't
if we
have
had a boat, we
motors.
wouldn't need to shrink her. We could just bring her with us. It's not like,
We still have to get her out on the other side and get her to the Lyceum without. And that would have to be done weekend at Bernie style if we do it in the boat.
well, we
We
could,
can, we can tow her behind and let her smack on the buoys as we go across.
Well, it's like, all right.
Mm,
So,
right.
and the likelihood is if you guys just sort of like try to frog march her up to the Lyceum, she's going to be screaming bloody murder. Help, help. These guys are kidnapping me.
Right.
That kind of thing. Or, well,
You
she
said we
certainly
get her there
could.
you said we can get her there by horseback easily? We'll just do that.
Well, faster, but I don't know that you can get her there. I mean, you still have to go through town. So yeah, I mean,
It should be nothing.
6 minutes is just not a lot of time.
No,
6
it's
minutes.
not.
That's. A horse can easily do what a human can run. That's
If you
90.
gallop, if you rent a horse and one person with a heavy
yeah.
handy
That.
haversack gallops through town, yeah, you can get to the gates of the Lyceum in 6 minutes.
And then we just jump off, run in there, say,
Yeah, I've got a spy in my backpack.
Who's the
Sure
best
you
one with
do.
the horse?
Let's get you to bed, Grandma.
Who's the best one with a horse?
I don't know. Does anybody have handle animal?
Yes.
I do.
Oh
I'll say I've got handle. That was my job before I, became an adventurer.
Same here, actually.
Well, and
So yeah.
would it
Owen
be
and I
handle
worked
animal?
together.
Would it be handle animal or
ride?
ride?
Oh yeah, it'd probably be ride.
Ono has exceptional ride.
Awesome.
I don't know. Let me see what mine is.
So you guys are handing over your
I don't trust
unlawfully
leaving
kidnapped.
her. I don't trust
visitor
leaving
to-
Ono with her.
Mine's plus.
Not a good
my,
idea.
my ride's plus 11.
I'll go with her.
Oh.
Can't we all fit? Just
My
Ono
ride's
and I?
8.
I can thunk her on the head if something
I don't think you
happens.
can put 3 people on a horse.
No.
Well, she's half her size.
But she's going in the haversack, right?
Yeah.
Yes. So she's no
Oh, you
weight.
guys are- oh, okay.
Or anybody
Because-
else can go too.
Well,
Look,
both the twins have ride and are strong enough to smack around if she gets out.
Yeah. Well, we can probably just get a couple horses and I'll go, right?
Yeah.
can we restrain her and throw her across the pommel? of
Well, it's
the-
still visible to the townspeople. I mean,
Well,
No,
we-
we're gonna.
we captured
well,
a spy.
a wagon maybe. I mean, you could put her in the back of a wagon.
No, just throw her just reduce her, throw her in her back in a handy haversack and ride over there and jump out, get inside before we have to pull her out of the handy haversack and let her go back to full size.
What if she returns to full size while inside this handy haversack?
Well, it won't hurt the haversack, but it almost certainly will hurt her.
I see.
Is there stables where we can rent horses and or cart?
Yeah,
Sure, absolutely.
Where we found her the first time.
Yeah.
That'd be ironic. Use her own horse to like run her over to the Lyceum.
Oh, I doubt that he would that particular guy. If that's her horse, it's doubtful that he would allow you to rent it.
Hey,
Your guess was that was her horse, her personal horse, like that she owned, and she just boarded it there and came occasionally to ride it around. And she was a good, excellent rider.
Why don't we just rent a cart or something where we can hide her in it? And
Carts are slower than horses.
Yeah, but you wouldn't necessarily have to reduce her if you use a cart. You just throw her in the back, cover her with a tarp or something. As long as she was muted and couldn't scream or was unconscious or something like that, yeah, it would probably solve your problems. But it wouldn't be as cool as reducing her and putting her in a haversack and then galloping madly across town.
That would be awesome.
That would be cool.
Have some theme music going on and everything. Have the Mission Impossible theme going on as we're galloping over there.
Ono will volunteer to ride the horse to carry her to the Lyceum if that's the plan.
Is that the plan, gents?
No.
No.
Ono
right,
would be.
I'll be right
Ono
back
would,
when you guys start.
Ono would be one of the best choices, except for the fact if something goes wrong, I wouldn't trust Ono to do what's needed to get it back on track.
Ono, he's not a strong arm guy, and he's certainly deeply averse to cold blooded murder.
Right. So if she somehow something happened and she got out and she begged for his help and all this stuff.
Well,
he's little she's going to be half size, and anybody else could go with and bonk her on the head if something happened.
But he won't bonk her on the head.
Yeah, but somebody else could ride. They could ride as a duo, two people. He's small, she's shrunk, and anybody else is.
We just rent a cart. Let's just rent a cart. We can all go together and
do a cart.
Hire.
So we just knock her out and leave her knocked out?
Yeah.
Ono is lawful good. And if she is proved evil, then he would hit her.
Thing is, we don't have proof for any of this. We've got some very strong circumstantial evidence, but we don't have any proof.
Not guilty until proved. I mean, I assume.
I would, yeah.
The only reasonable course of action then is to let her go with an apology.
Which is why Arendar thinks.
Let's just get a cart and do it. Do something.
So what's the rule? Les, what are the rules are you going to make us adhere to? If we knock her out, is she going to be knocked out the whole way? Or is there some?
I mean, probably. I mean, you rent a cart. It's not super far over to the Lyceum. You're certainly within town. You could get there in 15 minutes pretty easily. The problem would be getting there in 6 minutes. You could get there at a full gallop on a horse with her in a haversack. You get there in 6 minutes. You can get her in there. You get her behind closed doors in a relatively easy time. If you just want to clock her over the top of the head and tie her up, put a gag in her mouth, and throw it in the back of a cart with a tarp over her, you could. I mean, you might damage her brain a little bit, but I mean, it's a feasible strategy. It could work.
Arendar likes that one just because he gets to smack her in the head.
We could do the haversack thing at the end of it and just carry her in that way rather than having.
Actually, that's a good idea.
Theoretically, I mean, when we were talking earlier, you might not be carrying her out. I mean, if you're going to entrust her to, you're not. Well, one, you're not sure what Simeon wants to see you guys about. The messenger said he wants you to meet somebody.
Right.
So you're not sure what he wants.
So we walk in, he's like, "Great, here you can meet this person." We're like, "Hang on, we've got a girl here we need to take care of first."
here's the chief constables for the region.
Yeah.
You guys are under arrest. No, Simeon wouldn't do that to you. Remember, Simeon is in your debt in a lot of ways here. And and to a certain extent, he sort of sees you guys as kind of like his guys, getting things done guys. So, I mean, there's that. I mean, theoretically, if you were to, I mean, it wouldn't be that big of a diplomacy check to see if you could plant her in a cell. So Simeon certainly has the ability and means to keep her there, and to preclude escape, whereas you guys might have more trouble with that.
Yeah.
Because his cells are going to be guarded by arcane locks and ensorcelled shit and probably summoned guardians, that kind of thing. Who knows? You don't have any idea what's going down in the bowels of the Lyceum. All you know is that you guys handed Sidoneth over to him, and Sidoneth has been under guard there since then, presumably still alive, and has been interrogated by them at least a couple of times, both using, and Simeon admitted, both using largely magical means. It could be zone of truth, could be something tougher.
Okay, so I think, just because this is taking way too long, we're going to get a cart, knock her out, put her in the back of the car, take her over there, and then when we get to where we're going, then we're going to reduce her, put her in a haversack, and walk her in. That way, no one sees us taking her in.
Gotcha. Okay.
We easily can use 6 minutes is easy enough to get out of a car.
From the front gate to Simeon's office? Yeah, no problem there.
Yeah. So we're going to do that.
Okay. All right. So you guys go out, rent a cart. It's like 8 silver pieces for a cart and a horse. You get essentially a small cart and a single horse that'll pull it along. It's very light, but yeah, I mean, that much. It's not super expensive. Are you going to knock her out?
Yes.
All right. So you just clout her over the back of the you tie her up tightly and gag her, throw her in the back. So you guys go through town quite easily. I'm assuming that somebody sits in the back just to make sure that she doesn't wake up too early. But yeah, I mean, and so you see a lot of things going on in town. It's people are still sort of cleaning up from the storm, right? So there's a lot of damage to houses, there's a lot of work going on, there's a lot of things being cleaned up, but generally people seem to be quite cheerful. They know you guys, so a lot of people are like, hey, it's you guys, that kind of thing. They're waving and that kind of stuff, and hey, Aradar, hey, Bodrum, how's it going? Because you guys have developed a certain notoriety in town, certainly. So yeah, I mean, but it's largely cheerful. Sun's out, and people are working. You do see more guys sort of walking the streets, and they have that symbol on the thing, and you can see that these pins, these cloak pins, in some cases they're people just walking, right? They're walking from place to place. They're on errands of their own. In some instances, you see that these people wearing these badges are sort of acting as constables. They're sort of intervening and stuff, and in one case there's a fair amount of damage at a little crossroads, and they're directing the carts and people to go around for people, that kind of thing. And so they're sort of taking up the mantle of sort of local law enforcement is too strong a word. You don't see anybody getting arrested or anything like that, but they're sort of jumping in and helping people, and sort of keeping things orderly, that kind of stuff. And but you do see more of these people wearing this Vortberdian clasp. You guys get to the gates of the Lyceum without any problem. First thing you notice, so the gates open and you're ushered in, but quite quickly you're sort of hurried in, and you can see that the gate itself and along the walls you can see more of the Lyceum specific sort of guards, like the school guards. There's more of them around, and you can see that at least 4 or 5 have been, it looks to you guys, to be specifically detailed at the gate and stay there. You also see that the main tower, has guards at the door, and you guys are sort of ushered in. You to pull that handy haversack trick, and very quickly she's still unconscious, so there's no resistance to the spell. You pop her, you small on her, you pop her in the handy haversack, and yeah, you guys are ushered in. In fact, the door guards are like, welcome, and they're very cordial. Sir Vondrum, Sir Poe, Sir Polearm, Lord Titus, these kind of things. They're quite obsequious as to, but certainly showing a fair amount of respect for you guys. You guys are escorted up to Simeon's offices. And you also see, when you get to Simeon's door, there's another pair of Lyceum guards. They're wearing you'll remember when you first came to Sequin, you guys ran into some military guys at the Lyceum, and they wore a certain kind of livery. These guys wear the same livery as those guys did. So it looks like they've upgunned defense of the Lyceum specifically a little bit. They seem more alert. You still see a lot of students kind of kicking around and that kind of stuff. And actually, the students seem quite happy because the sun's out. The hurricane is over. Repairs are going on here as well. But you are escorted to the office, and you can see that there's 2 guards there, and you also see off to the side. Well, it's a young man who is wearing robes typical of a student, but he's sort of just mulling around as well. And your suspicion is that he's part of the door guards. Like, they've assigned a mage to be part of the door guards. You're welcomed in, and you see several people. And the first voice you hear, however, is Katrina's. Or Katarina's, and she's like, well, it's about time you guys showed up. And you can see her. So you go in the office, and there's 4 people in there. You see Simeon. He's sitting down at one of the little conference tables, and he's talking with 2 other guys. One of them is a dwarf who you recognize from around town. His name is Steckert, and he was one of Xavius Fobane's guys. And your guess is that he is now Xavius's sort of the new Xavius, right? So his name is Steckert, and he's quite a martial character, even more so than Xavius was. Xavius was an older dwarf, kind of long in the tooth, but had a certain military gravitas about him. He was obviously somebody who had seen a lot of conflict. Steckert gives off similar vibes conflict-wise, but he's a much younger dwarf. He's very much in the prime of his life. You can see he's wearing, a plate cuirass with dwarven sigils on it. He has a big, a large hammer. The traditional weaponry of the thing. He's a soldier, and he sort of looks over to you. He's got a very serious look about him, and you can see here what he sort of looks like. Next to him is a less serious looking fellow, a human, dressed in green robes, sort of a little overweight, a little corpulent. He's got a louche look about him, like somebody who likes the good life and has enjoyed it for a long time, and means to continue to enjoy it. And he sort of looks. Everybody sort of looks over to you as you come in, and Simeon's the first to stand up. He's like, great, you're here finally. I want you to. I'm glad you're here. Katarina is over there's a little bar area in Simeon's thing, and she's the first one to talk. She's like, finally, you made it. We didn't know if you were going to show up or not. And she's stirring a pitcher of mulled wine that she's and then she actually brings over to the table, and brings some extra cups for you guys as you guys come and sit down. Simeon's like, I'm glad you're here. I was hoping that you would come. I wasn't sure what you guys were doing, but I was someone that I want you to meet. This is Balin Bastum, and he is a friend of ours from various points. He's come to us with an interesting request, and as I've been talking with Balin and Lord Steckart, I immediately thought of you guys, and I wanted to bring you in on this because once I told Balin about you, he was very interested to meet you, and he has an interesting story to tell.
Before you get started,
yes,
and if no one else in my party has done this, Arendar will say, Simeon, I've got an urgent matter for you real quick. Can you step outside for a second?
Oh, of course, of course. What could it be? Does everybody go out? Does everybody go out in the hall, or is it
Whoever's
just
got the
you?
haversack
Whoever's
is
got that
gonna come out
haversack.
with me. I don't know.
Simeon,
I don't know who's got
we've
the
got
haversack.
we've got a kidnapped victim in a haversack. We'd like to turn over to you. Is that
Right.
okay? Is that a breach of our friendship?
So yeah, if he keeps me long-winded, Aaron interrupts him and says, "We need you real sec, 1 sec out here," and then
All right,
is
he
it
comes
you
out.
who
He's
has
like
the
very
haversack?
curious. He's like, "Is everything okay?" And you're like, "What? You've got someone in a haversack?"
Is it
I'll
Poe?
open it up and yeah, it was my haversack, so I'll
Okay, so he comes out too.
And you're like, she's got about 2 minutes left before she turns big again. She's still unconscious. So Simeon is
So-
confused.
So I'm gonna pull him aside. You got a room real quick, and the three of us can go in and just chat, and then we can pull her out. And
Of course. One moment. And he pops back in the room. He's like, Lord Steckart, Balin, will just be a moment. And he closes the door back up. Katerina, enthrall them with some of your tales of daring do. Yeah. So he's like, what is this all about? He's like, come with me. And he finds a little sort of side room, that kind of thing. And he's like, well, what is this all about?
so I look at Poe and say, "Would you present?"
Yeah, I'll open the haversack up and pull our little munchkin out.
Okay.
So then I'm going to give them the brief summary of what we did, what we suspect. and what's
Kidnapped a
going on.
halfling?
No.
All right.
I'm going to give him the 60-second version of everything we've done and what we've found and what we're coming here to do, and say, "Can you get her under lock and key?" And then we'll meet your person, and then we'll talk more in detail about this after that. But we need her locked up.
He's got kind of an odd look on his face, like, yay. But then he leads out the door and he's like, I've trusted you before, I trust you now. He leans out the door and he's like, you come here. And she's beginning to enlarge again. The spell is wearing off, and she's he's got her sort of like on the floor, I guess, or something like that. And he's like, you take this woman gently and be very careful. Do not undo her bonds or anything until you have her secure in a cell. Take her down and put her in the special in one of the special cells that we have down in the basement. You know the ones. They're like, yes, El Presidente. And so they basically pick her up and carry her off. And he's like, perhaps at some point, maybe after the meeting we're about to have, we should have a longer conversation about this person.
Arendar smiles real big, claps him on the back, and says, "Sure."
Okay, but I can't guarantee you that
Okay,
I'm assuming that you've come to me because you need her to be absolutely secure, and that I can guarantee.
Yeah, let's go with that.
All right. He also waves over at that point. He waves over that little mage. He's like, "I need you to put the special security measures in place, the same as we did with Sidoneth. Make sure that she's comfortable and fed, but also that there is zero chance of escape."
Yeah, she's very deceptive and very powerful.
Engage the mutes. He says to he hears you. He's like, engage the mutes, and the mage nods twice and runs and follows the other guys. So you go back into this room, and everybody sort of stands up. He's like, my name's Balin. It's well met to meet you. And when he stands up, you realize that he's probably Sargovan. At least he's human. Steckart stands up. He's like, I know these guys. I've seen them around. You were friends of Xavier's. That means you're friends of mine. So you won't have any worries for me. Katerina's like, well, that's good. We wouldn't want to have a pitch battle in here. So the guy's like, everybody drinks are passed around, and basically, Simeon says, look, I brought you here because Balin has a very interesting story and frankly a favor to ask. And so I'll just let him tell it. So he goes, my name's Balin Bestum. I'm distant related to the Bestum house of Cheliax. It's a pleasure to meet you. Simeon and I were just trying to figure out how long it's been since we'd seen a storm of such nature, anywhere near as big as the one we had in the last 2 weeks. The last week or so. As best we could figure, it was about 22 years ago. A good job on that, by the way. Simeon has informed me of everything you do. And Katerina pipes in. He's like, we owe them our lives, she says. Guys, she looks over. This fella's got a mission for you, and I've promised them that you guys know what you're doing and won't disappoint them. Simeon kind of looks a little embarrassed, and he kind of gives a look to Katerina like, shut the fuck up and let him tell it, kind of thing. Balin sips at his ale, and he says, "Look, I suppose you're all wondering what this is about." He says, "I can't say I blame you. Have you heard the recent news out of Sargava? They're already have dispatched an army, really, to come and take care of us here as soon as possible. As soon as the mountain passes of the Bandu Hills thaw on the border between Sargava and the Bandu, we'll have about 20,000 soldiers headed our way. I suppose that's the downside of notoriety, I fear. Regardless, with the damage here to the town, even if the entire refugee population could be mustered under Vortbert's militia, Sequin isn't going to be in a position to defend itself against 20,000 men of the Sargavan army. Normally, it would be a simple matter in this case of requesting help from King Steppengard, since officially Sequin is part of the Bandu Hills, although that's tenuous treaties at best. But the Sargavans have gone and made a non-aggression pact with King Steppengard. Balin sort of frowns. We just got word of it this morning, and as an envoy from Sargava promised that they will not attack Bandu if their army is allowed to march through the hills, the mountains unmolested. Depending on how the weather goes, it looks like we may have a month or two before our resistance here will be cut quite short. That's where I, and hopefully we, come in. Simeon here has asked me to journey to Bresk, which is the capital of the Bandu, and use my humble persuasive skills to convince the king to change his mind about letting the Sargavans through. We've already sent ahead a courier requesting an audience for us, so hopefully they'll be expecting us. Now, we're not particularly keen on officially allying with the Bandu Hills, but if we pledge our support, magically speaking, to King Steppengard in this war, and play to his ego about how he is letting the Sargavans bully him, I think we might have a shot. This is when Simeon steps in. He's like, "We'll try not to give away the town, Balin. Remember, we have to offer our assistance at the king's pleasure, not pledge loyalty. We're not joining his country, and we're sure as hell not going to pay him taxes." Balin's like, no, I'll try, but let's not get too full of ourselves. We are not a sovereign city here. I'll say and do whatever is necessary to make sure all the people here are safe from the scourge. If Steppengard won't listen, maybe some of the other nobles will. And basically, he says, anyway, he continues, as you can probably see, I am neither a great warrior nor an experienced traveler. Sargava already has an envoy in Bresk, so we should expect some trouble. Simeon vouches for you fully, and frankly, I'm here to ask you for help. I shudder to think what would happen to the Lyceum if the Sargavan scourge reached us, and they are things. He's like, come over, I'll explain to you the situation, if you have a moment. And he goes over, he jumps up, stands up, and goes over to some maps that are laid out on one of the tables. He's like, as you can see, this is a map of the region showing the overall region and as it stands now. So there's a couple of things that you should probably see, and I'm going to put them on the map all at once so that we can go through them quite quickly. Hold on one second. Whoops, just moved the whole shit, didn't I? There we go. Hold on a second. All right, let's do this and see if it works. Yeah, that worked real well. Thanks, everybody. All right, hold on. Let me see if I can make this work. Okay. There we go. All right, that's a little better. All right, so there has been a lot happening while you guys are putting stop to storms, okay? So on one hand, we'll just go left to right. So you can see this purple area right here. That's Lord Shaladel's territory. Now, he's obviously been ejected from here, but his boats, the ones that weren't burnt by Vortbird, have headed back downriver, and they've rejoined their guys. You can see here, they've essentially, you can see what is the Sargavan Third Corps under Inquisitor Rullus has been moving through that area. They've taken Gate Pass, posted things there, and then they've been moving up the valley. Shaladel has sorted a lot of light cavalry, a lot of archers, and that kind of stuff, and they've essentially stopped them at this point. So the Sargavans have not been able to penetrate deeper into the valley other than right there, which is only maybe a few miles past the northwestern access to Gate Pass. That battle is ongoing. There's a lot of skirmishing, but essentially it has devolved into a stalemate. Second, you have the Sargavan First Corps under Inquisitor Eckley and General Grantilian has moved to the east. They have gone to the river and they have crossed the river. Now they have deployed a bunch of field armies against the Screaming Jungle, but what you have is you have a fair amount of Mizali and who have been coming down the river. Hold on a second, I missed one here. You have a fair amount of Mizali who have been coming up to the river and met them at this corner. You also have the Osibu Mwangi who have been come down the river to aid them. And what you have is essentially a pretty large Mwangi force, which is using the river as a background, and they've stopped one corps, the Sargavan First Corps, from getting any further. Now they have gotten across the river here at Calabudo, and they've taken Calabudo, but at the rest of the rest of the river, they've been stopped. You do see in some cases the Osibu Mwangi units have been pushing back on the northeastern Sargavans and pushing them back. The big problem that we have here, though, is Sargavan 5 Corps, which is under Field Marshal Lakis, Inquisitor Krona. These guys, this is the bulk of the Sargavan army, and they have moved up this valley past the Mwangi lines, but they've also been countered, and they've got to the Bandu Hills. And essentially they've got here, and what their plan is to take all of 5 Corps across the Bandu Mountains into the valley behind Shaladel, bypass them, and come right at Sequin. This is the 20,000 Sargavan regulars that Balin was talking about. They are there. They've got Field Marshal Lakis. He's one of their best generals. They've got Inquisitor Krona, who is probably third in command of the Scourge. They've got a lot of good stuff. They've got cavalry. They've got crossbowmen. They are ready to hit, but they cannot get across those mountains without leave from the Bandu. And that's the thing. Now you've got the Osibu who are coming down the valley, and they are moving as fast as they can to try and strike them from the flank, but they're not there yet. And the 5 Corps knows they're coming. So they've dispatched skirmishers. They're going to try and slow them down as much as they can. There's also no love lost between the Bandu and the Osibu, so there's problems there. Certainly King Steppengard doesn't like these guys trucking down what he considers to be his valley. And right now, the Sargavans are at Bresk trying to make deals with these people. That's where we are right now. The problem is 5 Corps. If we can stop them, if we can convince Steppengard to not let them come through, then that buys us some time. It buys the Osibu armies time to get down the valley, strike them from the flank, and also they're going to be stuck out there. Their supply lines are long, not very well done. There's a lot of guerrilla activity in the South Bandu Hills. We still have friends in the Bandu Hills. We still have dwarven friends who hate the Sargavans, and they are fighting them. We still have guerrillas from Gate Pass that are fighting in the south of the valley. So they are coming from behind there. There's few, but they are doing a heck of a job. So there's that. But that's how the war stands right now. For us here in Sequin, it's 5 Corps that is our biggest thing. So what they're essentially asking is that you go with Balin into the mountains, the Bandu Mountains, talk to King Steppengard, convince him to not allow 5 Corps to go through the mountains and force them to go around. Make sense?
I think so.
Easy.
I think so.
All right. There's a lot so we're a little bit after 11 here, so there's a lot more to this story, and a lot more interesting stuff about the politics of the Bandu Hills. But I think that's something. Unless you guys want to go a little longer, it's Columbus Day. Are people off for Columbus Day tomorrow?
I work for a bank, so yes.
So you're off?
Yes.
What about our East Coaster, Eric? What do you think?
I'll go a bit more.
Okay, so naturally the discussion turns to who are the players, in the Bandu Hills. It is quite a situation up there. And there are a lot of people to meet. So let's go ahead and meet them right now. All right. So the first thing is King Steppengard himself. He rules with what's called the Council of Nine. Originally, all of the Bandu here. Let me fix this a little bit. Hold on, so you can see. All of Bandu was they call it the Alliance of Eight Kings. And for 3 centuries, the nation was bound by the rule of the Book of Eight Lands, it was called. It was a lesser artifact that traced the lineage of each of the nobles in charge of the different pieces of the Bandu Hills, and kept clear who was the rightful ruler and all this other stuff. It also provided, that book also provided magical protection from these guys. But about 50 years ago, the king was slain by the next in line. It set off a civil war, and it frankly purged many bloodlines, as the nobles used the book as a sort of a to-do list of who to kill to gain power. Everybody who was written in there, they want to get rid of. It was a chaotic time, but it also kept the Sargavans from conquering there, since keeping control of it wouldn't have been worth the effort at the time. Now you have about 15 years ago, a new king, King Steppengard, came to power. He doesn't have any siblings, and he had formed alliances with various nobles to keep the nation stable. But they're also to make sure that, to put a stop to the civil war that was taking place, he established what they called the Council of Nine. And basically, there's 9 nobles, and each one of them or their proxy has a vote on this council, and the king's vote counts as 3 votes, and they decide everything by acclamation, right? The idea is that by doing so, all the nobles have a voice. The king has a greater voice, but still he can be overruled by his nobles, and that way there's none of the conflicts that took place during the Civil War continue to do that. So in this case, Steppengard, understanding that he wanted to ensure that his lineage would be protected, he has 18 children as of the beginning of this year. He maybe more, but so his lineage is secured. So Steppengard is an older dwarf. He is an experienced warrior. And he has a reputation, but he has largely a reputation for preferring negotiation to combat. He would likely have been willing to listen to Sequin's offer of alliance, but there had been a recent death in the family. Well, Balin will tell you this, that has left him, one of his family was killed, and it's left him a bit, he's grieving, and he's not necessarily making all of the best decisions. So he sort of, we think that this may be largely why he has been even considering the Sargavan thing. So next, you have Lady Timor. Lady Timor is a human, and some of the Council of Nine are humans. Lady Timor, and there's one other, and we'll get to her. So Lady Timor is a wizard, and her lands are protected from invasion by something called the Glasskeel Cliffs, which is a strange sort of icy landform, which is about a half a mile high, and it separates her territory from the lowlands of Lord Gallo. Largely speaking, what we know about her is she's not a fan of the Sargavans, but she fears them, and she fears what they will do to her rather small sort of parcel of land in the Bandu. She might be worth a discussion. She might be willing to ally with us, against the Sargavans. She's not a fan of them. Then you have Duke Gallo. He was recently named Duke as a reward for his service in protecting Bandu from invasion. He does. Our understanding is that he does not want to let the Sargavans through, and potentially could be the most receptive as a potential ally for Sequin. Next to him is Duke Dajkoban. Dajkoban is when he had to sacrifice some of his lands to help create King Steppengard's holdings. So there was always been a little bit of tension between Dashkaban and Steppengard. He's never indicated that he's interested in becoming king, but he certainly has no love for Steppengard. He might not be as receptive to us. Then there's Baron Magadon. He is probably one of the richest, if not the richest, dwarven noble. He has access to the river, but largely he is a facetious man. He does not believe that Sargava is a threat, and generally speaking, is not interested in making treaties that would make him a target of the Sargavans. Then you have Lord Is. Lord Is probably one of Steppengard's most loyal subjects. He is distantly related to to King Steppengard, and has his lands are some of the most inhospitable lands in all of the Bandu Hills, and a lot of soldiers and tough dwarves come out of those lands. Then you have Baron Rhaego. He's the only other human that sits on the Council of Nine, and probably is the poorest of all of them. He has seen a lot of refugees pass through his lands, and he is not a fan of Sequin. In fact, he has opposed us on many occasions, and is frankly, active hostility is probably how we would consider his relationship with Sequin. Then we have Lady Dane. Lady Dane is a rich dwarf and very acquisitive. She exhibits, as Balin would tell you, she exhibits many of the worst qualities of dwarvish acquisitiveness. She's quite wealthy. And frankly, if she feels that allowing the Sargavans to cross the Bandu Mountains would get her profit, she will do it. But she does not have a huge army. Her power rests largely on commerce, and so that puts her in a precarious position. She's certainly not necessarily willing to put her kingdom at danger, but if she could profit from allying with the Sargavans, she will. And then we have Lady Namen. She is a beautiful dwarf. She has ties to the elves, and her lands border those things. She has heard, so somehow it has gotten to her head that agents of the Lyceum have attempted to kill Shalosha. She's heard of what happened here against Lady Shalosha. She is a friend to them, to her, and Lady Namen and Lady Shalosha of the Elves have been known to be associates. She heard what happened in Sequin, and so now we feel, we don't have any confirmations, but we feel that she's probably angry with us and not all that hot to join up. She is also ambitious, and but unlike Lady Dane, Lady Namen has the strength to back it up. It's possible that. So it was the king's wife who was killed recently, and what has caused his grief. And once that news got out, Lady Namen immediately went to the capital in Brest, and she's been there ever since. There is some speculation that she is angling to become the new queen. But she, after what happened because of Vorpur's attack on the elves, she is no friend to Sequin. So let's take a look. So those are the players. Let's take a look at what the map looks like. So this is the Bandu Mountains, and they are mountains. We call them hills, but they really are mountains. And let's go ahead and do this. I'm gonna go ahead and see if this will work. Hold on a second. Here we go. All right. So you see Sequin up here on the river. In the valley, you have Lord Shaladel and his cavalry, and they're fighting against the Sarvacavan Three Court and Inquisitor Rullus. Over here, you have if you look at the south, next to Gate Pass, you have Lady Namen and Baron Rhaego. Both of them have largely, we believe they are largely disinterested in an alliance with Sequin and actively hostile in some cases. Baron Rhaego is obviously actively hostile. Next to them, you have Lady Timor, who is ambivalent. It's possible that she could be an ally. You do see Sargavan Five Corps is sort of on her borders, and so that's probably making her nervous. The middle, you have Duke Gallo, and Duke Gallo's territory oversees the Elite Gap. That is the path that Sargavan Five Corps wants to take through the mountains to get into the valley. They probably will bypass Shaladel at that point, or even have Three Corps sort of redouble their efforts as a distraction, so that they can go around and hit Sequin from the east. That, we believe, is the plan. Then you have Baron Magadon and Lady Dane. Their territories abut each other, and then to the north you have the city of Brest, which is the capital city. That is the seat of King Steppengard's power. Next to him is Duke Dashgaban and Lord Is. They are known to be Duke Dashgaban, as you know, is does not see the Sargavans as a threat. Lord Is very much a loyal subject of King Steppengard and provides a great deal of his soldiers. That said, that being the case, you have down in the southwest, you have Sargavan Three Corps under Rullus. They are continuing their attacks against the elves and trying to push the elves northeast so that they can get more access to the river. That river goes in a variety of interesting directions from a tactical standpoint, so they want to take that. The Sargavan Five Corps is essentially waiting to see what happens, and they've been sending their diplomats both to Steppengard, to Duke Gallo, to try and get access to the Elite Gap. If they can get leave to go through there, Sequin is in dire trouble. The wild card here is the glorious Agala Osib. This is an army of Osib Mwangi. They own that river up there. They are the ones that are moving southwest towards Five Corps. If they can catch them on the flank, and we can deny them the Elite Pass, the Elite Gap, the glorious Agala Osib army could do a lot of good work against them. That said, Five Corps is probably the toughest field army that the Sargavans have in the field right now. They have their Field Marshal Lakis leading it. They have Inquisitor Krona, who's probably third in command at the Scourge. This is a serious army, and if they get across those mountains, I don't need to tell you, Sequin is probably done.
Les, can you go back and just do a quick synopsis on who Duke Gallo, what his motivations were of all those people?
Duke Gallo is probably the biggest friend to Sequin right now, and that's what's kept Five Corps sort of at bay. The problem is Duke Gallo is going to do what King Steppengard tells him to do. So what probably is going on right now is that diplomats from Sargava are going to King Steppengard, who just recently lost his wife. Now, there's been some speculation that she was killed, but whatever happened to her, she died, and now he's in a period of grieving, and he's not. And frankly, Balin will tell you, he's not thinking clearly. So if the Sargavans can convince him to order Duke Gallo to open the Elite Gap and let the Sargavan Five Corps come in, Duke Gallo will have no choice but to do that. That said, he doesn't want to let them through, and frankly, he could be a good ally to us. He's always been cordial to us here at Sequin. He does not like the Sargavans, but he will follow orders. If he's told by Steppengard that he needs to open that gap and allow them through, he'll do it. But yeah, if you want to
perform a cleric emotional healing on the king,
maybe so. But anyway, what Balin wants you to do is accompany him to Brest. Maybe we stop by Duke Gallo's first, see what's going on there. But accompany me to Brest, get me there safely. Hopefully, between us, we can convince the king the king of the dwarves and the Council of Nine not to allow 5 Corps through the Alidi Gap. If we can put a stop to him there, that'll give time for the glorious Agala Osib to get there, attack them from the flank. It'll give some options for the other Mwangi, the Mwaza Mwangi down in the south. Maybe they can break away some units. It'll give opportunities to the guerrillas that are operating in that area. South of Lady Timur's territory, and we suspect that are receiving support in Lady Timur's territory to continue to harry the 5 Corps in the field there, and it'll protect Sequin. Frankly, we do not believe that it's possible, and Simeon agrees. Balin doesn't believe it's possible, and Simeon agrees that if 5 Corps gets into the plains, they'll essentially bypass and cut off the elves and trap them in a pincher in a pincher movement between them and 3 Corps, and they'll have free reign to go to Sequin, and they'll take the city. Vorpert talks a good game, but the reality, his militia is made up of maybe
bunch of thugs,
500 to 700 people that he can field with weapons. He hasn't had the time to build a proper army. Much as he might desire to, it's not there yet. They'll get eaten alive. There are 20,000 Sargavan regulars on the other side of the Alidi Gap. They'll take the city.
And how many do we think the glorious Aga Lasab Osib has?
Nobody knows. But there's only one time in history, he says, that the glorious Agala Hosib have come out of the Screaming Jungle, and they destroyed a variety of different armies in this very valley. Now, this is a century ago. There's been no reason for them to come out of the jungle, but reports of that time indicate that that their army was maybe as large as 50,000 Mwangi soldiers.
What are Mwangi again? Are those? They're not pilots, right? They're human.
They're humans, yeah. Like Chilaxians or Andivar. They're just it's the name of this region. Is the Mwangi expanse. But yeah, if there's 50,000 OC warriors coming out of the jungle to attack these guys, that changes the game. But we have to buy them time. You can't. We don't know that there's that many, and we don't know where they are.
King Steppengard and Lord Shaladel, are they allies at all, or are they rivals? Do they get along?
I wouldn't say either allies or rivals. They have different. Steppengard is of the mountains. Shaladel is of the plains. Almost certainly they have met, and almost equally certainly they have diplomatic relations. There's no war between Steppengard and Shaladel, but there's also no love lost between elves and dwarves in a general sense. It's probable they've agreed to sort of keep to their own knitting. But if Steppengard, if the Sargavans can convince Steppengard that he would somehow benefit from the destruction of Lord Shaladel's cavalry in the plains, who knows what he would decide. I mean, they're not friends, and they're certainly not allies, but they're not enemies either.
That's a lot to think about.
All right. So it is late. It's 11:30. We will stop there. I know that a lot of people work tomorrow, so lots to think about. But essentially, the core of what Balin is like, look, I can talk to King Steppengard. I will talk to King Steppengard on behalf of Sequin. However, I can't get there myself, not across a war zone. And it's possible that the plains have Sargavan infiltrators, bandits, that kind of stuff. War creates problems. I need help. I need help getting there. And Simeon says that you guys are the best.
Well, we are. So
there you go. All right. We'll stop there tonight. Thank you, guys.
Happy birthday tomorrow.
Thank you very much. I appreciate that. Thanks.
Happy birthdays tomorrow.
Yeah, my birthday's tomorrow. I'm going to be 17 again.
Happy birthday.
Have a great festival.
Thank you.
21 and 12 years experience. or
Yep,
something like that.
a lot of years experience. I'm gonna be
Something.
so I'm not ashamed of it. I'll be 56 tomorrow.
Yeah, me too.
That's
Nice.
great. Nice.
So the downhill of my 50s. That's a hard thing to deal with. But
Yeah.
yeah, no, thank you.
Just taking you right into the arms of retirement, my friend.
I'll tell you what. The more I
see.
see Marlon retire, the more I'm frankly looking forward to it.
Uh-huh.
The problem always is money. I need it, and
Yeah.
I don't have enough of it yet.
Mhm.
I hear you.
Working there.
Everybody have a good week.
All right, you guys
Yep,
have a good
you
week.
too.
We'll talk soon.
Right.
Okay.
Enjoy the rest of the festival.
Thank you.
Okay.
All
All
right.
right.
Good night.
Good night,
Bye, guys.
guys. Can't turn anything off. What's going on here? Here we go.